Faces dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It's a Tuesday Thoughts edition. You can use that hashtag and you can tweet at us at Soccer Down here. You can send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail. You can join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down here, and send in your questions there. The Twitch pitch can get a little lively at times. There can be all kinds of can be shenanigans in there. There can be all kinds of goofy things. There can be all kinds of good conversation as well. It's very, very interesting to see what emerges from the Twitch pitch from time to time. So you can join there, and everybody who has joined and watches us on Twitch and subscribes, we really, really, really appreciate it. Helps keep us moving along and adding new elements, like a new microphone for John that he figured out how to turn on.
Took me a while. There's a little volume knob on the underside that I didn't initially see.
Yeah, but he did eventually found it, and it's good to go. Eventually. All right, we got all kinds of random things to get into. It's what Tuesday and Thursday shows kind of turn into from time to time. Laura Scott at the BBC just a few minutes ago tweeted out that the EFL has been given the green light from the government to stage more pilots with up to 1,000 fans this weekend. Clubs were written to this morning and asked to put in requests today. Those in local lockdown areas won't get permission. This is on the backs of Germany, and our friend Derek Ray shared this from ZDF Sport. Marcus Hom tweeted out or reported with ZDF that from a virtual meeting with the state chancellors, Bundesliga fans can return effective immediately with a 6-week test. Would apply to the opener on Friday and then uniform nationwide regulation, 20% capacity in the test phase, eventually perhaps 40%. Those are moving along. I'll be really curious to see what happens around MLS as we get into next month. MLS is probably the league out of the EFL. The EFL is probably close, but out of the EFL, the Bundesliga, and MLS is the one who probably needs the people in the building as more than the others in terms of the financial component of that. So how are you going to be able to figure that out? Because even though there are some remaining issues, and I know in Germany there was a concern about a slight uptick as kids were going back to school, and I'm not sure in the UK how things have changed. I know they went down. I know they got better. I don't know if they've had another uptick. But comparing where Germany and the UK are to where the US is with this is like comparing the really nasty juice boxes that we talk about from time to time with a wonderful apple juice box. It's just night and day. So we will see how this goes with EFL up to 1,000, Germany, Bundesliga, 20% capacity in the 6-week test phase. And
also this morning from our friends at the Daily Telegraph before it went behind a pay window, the EFL wants a £22 million financial bailout from Premier League clubs for every month the season continues without crowds. Every month, that's what they were hunting for, and that's what Telegraph Sport broke this morning. And then the rest of the article went behind a paywall, so I'm trying to find out more information on that.
Yeah, that was yesterday. That didn't break this morning. You need to get updated notifications there, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah, of course they do. Are they going to be able to get that? I don't know, but that's what they want because they're losing money. And look, this thing's gone back and forth where it's like, well, it's not that bad. It's going to be okay. Well, the transfer market's down 20 to 30%. Well, it's going to be all right. The money isn't as bad as people thought it would be. And then, we need $20 million a month while we don't have fans in because, we need that because we're trying to keep going. Nah, it hasn't been as bad as people thought it would be. And then you hear a report out of Brazil that the sales of players from Brazil to other parts of the world has dropped dramatically, almost in half. And Brazilian clubs are in great need of selling those players. So, yeah, it's not going to be rosy here. And maybe we don't get the full effect of it this year. Maybe we don't get the full effect of it this window. But this is going to make a big change in the world's game. There's just no way around it. No way around it.
Speaking of juice boxes, Jason Heinley's in early this morning, and he says, have you tried the Humex?
I have. I've tried 2 different ones so far. I had the mango, which was okay. I had the peach, which was really good. I have a strawberry banana sitting in the fridge that I will have next time.
Okay. See, now that would be a contender for me, the strawberry banana version. Because I've never been a mango guy.
Okay. You're scared of mangoes, right?
Yes, pretty much.
That's not good, John. There's no reason to be afraid of mangoes.
Just I've never been physically attracted to the mango as a part of my beverages of choice.
Okay, that makes total
sense. Or
sense.
my fruits of choice.
Okay. Mango's good stuff. But the mango Humex was good. The peach one was better. I liked it a lot. And we'll see about the strawberry banana, and I'll report back. But those were the 3 that they had at. I did not go to the Publix. I went to the Kroger because it was closer, and they had the individual cans. So tried them out, and those were the only 3 flavors they had. So I'll keep looking for more.
As will I. I'll be more than happy to sit there and help you out.
No, you're not drinking them, so no, don't waste your time.
No, I'm getting them for you.
No,
I'm not
it's okay.
drinking them myself.
You can keep getting me Red Bull, and I'm good, okay?
Okay.
That's all I need. I can handle the Humex.
All right.
Reports are out there that the broadcasting is for some reason intermittent. That's a tricky word on Twitch. And I don't know why, and I have no answers for you. I am begging Twitch to help a brother out. So we will see if this can get sorted out. Everything is peachy on my end. Sorry about that. The app is available with no video, and you can also listen on soccerdownhere.net if you have to simulcast because of this. I don't know what's going on. I apologize. I wish I had some kind of answer for you, but I do not.
I blame Hurricane Sally.
I don't think Twitch is in the path of Hurricane Sally. I'm not either, so I don't know.
It's off to my left, so that was the first thing that I thought of to sit there and say, yes, this is what's wrong. I blame Mother Nature.
I got nothing. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but hopefully it works out. The app is streaming fine, so the audio part's going out. The video is stop-start. I have no idea why that would be the case. I'm guessing it is a connection on the end of Twitch. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, let's get caught up on some other things. Worldwide stuff that you need to keep an eye on today. CONMEBOL is having a virtual meeting with FIFA sometime today about World Cup qualifying. CONMEBOL wants to ensure that their European-based players will be able to participate in October and November. CONCACAF is not going forward with the preliminary rounds in October and November. That's not happening. CONMEBOL doesn't know yet. They don't want to do it if there is not going to be Lionel Messi coming back to play in these games. You remember back in the Nations League stuff, MLS, for example, did not allow 2 Polish players to go. Was it Buxa and Frankowski, if I remember right?
Yeah.
Didn't let them go, even though these were official matches, because FIFA allowed them to say no, because they would have had to go into a 10-day either quarantine or self-isolation, whichever one you want to call it, which would have pulled them away for longer than the mandatory period. So they were allowed to say no. Now there's been questions about European clubs saying, well, we don't want to send people to other continents. And CONMEBOL is not going to go forward with their qualifying dates if that happens. So keep an eye on that one. That's going to get really complicated. I apologize for Twitch being twitchy. It's actually not John's fault, people, for once. It's. I have no idea what it is, actually. I'm sorry.
I would have blamed me first and foremost.
Well, yeah, probably. Here's what I'm going to do, twitchy folks. I'm going to stop the stream and restart the stream and see if that helps. All right? So we'll be right back after this on the Twitch. Da-da-da-da-da. It is stopping. Huh. Must be something with the connection to Twitch. And I'm sure the people listening to the podcast later are like, oh, this is great. We love this part of the show. This is wonderful.
Well, if they had listened last night to Soccer Over There in the final 45 minutes?
Yeah, that's probably what broke everything. Yeah, it is something with the connection to Twitch. It is definitely that. So, okay. Let's try this again. I got nothing, y'all. We're figuring this stuff out on the fly. Welcome to working from home.
Yeah.
That's what we've done for years, so we have no excuse. But anyway, Asian Football Confederation, the AFC Champions League, is currently going on. And one club is not going on in this. The UAE club Al Wada has been withdrawn from the AFC Champions League because they failed to arrive. They did not show up in Doha because they had positive tests, and they informed the AFC last week that they could not travel because, according to quarantine rules in the United Arab Emirates, they were placed under quarantine. So Al Wada has been removed from the competition. They were actually in second in their group. Our good friend Pity Martinez and Al Nasser played today at 2 o'clock in the AFC Champions League. I have not seen any reputable place that you can watch this. I'm sure there will be non-reputable places that you can watch this. Good luck. We're all counting on you. And make sure you've got all the virus filters on your computer that you're going to watch this on.
Yes,
just to be safe.
1,000 times yes.
Yeah, do that. Do that for sure. CONCACAF, the 2020 CONCACAF League, the draw will be taking place on September 21st. The tournament will start on October 20th. This is how 6 clubs will qualify for the 2021 CONCACAF Champions League. The 2020 version, we still don't know when that's going to finish. You can watch on TUDN. If you're in Canada, you can watch on TSN, other partners in other parts of the region. Clubs to keep an eye on that we have seen before. The preliminary round, you got 12 clubs that will be drawn against one another. 6 will go into the round of 16, the winners. These are all going to be single game knockouts. You're not having the group stage before like you used to. Hamilton Forge from Canada is in the preliminary round. Alajuelense, powerhouse from Costa Rica, is in the preliminary round. FAS from El Salvador is in here. Antigua GFC from Guatemala is in here. Comunicaciones from Guatemala is in here. Motagua is in the preliminary round. And Club Atlético Independiente from Panama is in here. Los Paquidermos. And in the round of 16 already, from Costa Rica, Herediano and Saprissa. Alianza from El Salvador. Municipal from Guatemala. Marathon from Honduras. Olimpia from Honduras. Waterhouse FC from Jamaica. Real Esteli from Nicaragua is a new one that we haven't seen in a little while in CONCACAF competition. They're going to be fairly close to getting into the Champions League. San Francisco and Tauro from Panama. So that draw is on the 21st. That competition is going to start on October 20th. We don't know when the current Champions League is going to finish. I got nothing.
And this watching this on TUDN, this is something that I do because I'm that guy. I will watch these matches when they pop up at 4 and 6 o'clock, and they'll do like the triple headers at 6, 8, and 10, and all this kind of stuff. For you fellow junkies who want to look up Hamilton Forge FC, they are playing today at 1 o'clock in the Canadian Premier League. They're down to their final 4 in their round robin for that. They're playing Cavalry FC, and that should be on FS2, and it's also on One Soccer north of the border.
All right. So they are going into their championship on the 19th, right? In the Canadian
Yep.
Premier League?
Yep.
Okay. And the winner of that will play possibly Montreal to go into the CONCACAF Champions League for 2021. Montreal has to score 2 goals and win, 2 goals or more, and win against Vancouver on Wednesday to clinch their spot in that Canadian Championship final.
And then it was that's the easiest route, and then there were other routes involving like goals and tiebreakers and things like that. But the easiest route,
The 2 goals is part of the tiebreakers, John. That's the whole point.
Oh, okay.
Because that would give them more goals than Toronto. I already factored that in. So
okay.
You got to win to get level on points, and then if you score 2 goals, no matter how you win, you're through.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I remember that the 2-1 variant was what was popping in my head.
That's the whole. 2. They score 2. That's what I said. 2. We got it sorted out. Don't complicate people even further here. Okay. Speaking of complicated, Barcelona. Barcelona, according to Fabrizio Romano, has to sell players before they can announce players. This is back to that La Liga rule about their kind of sort of cap of spending that's different than financial fair play that I guess they're really following here because according to Mike Vermeij of the Netherlands, they've got a deal done with Memphis Depay. It's a done deal. They've agreed to terms. They've agreed to the purchase. I think it's $30 million from Lyon. 25, and I think there's a 5 that comes either next season or that's triggered by certain things. Everything's done, but Barca has to sell Luis Suarez before signing Depay, according to the La Liga rules. If Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Barca are not signing any players this summer, it's because of those La Liga rules. You've got to sell players, then you can buy again. That's why the Depay deal is not done. I think there's something about the financial component of it, too. It's not just literally sell a player and add a player. I think there's something financially to it. Barca is reportedly very close to getting whatever deal they're doing with Inter on Vidal done. So that might help. Luis Suarez, that one, I don't know why it's still lingering on, but it is. That's why all this is complicated. Real Madrid's not looking to make a big move this summer, except maybe shipping Gareth Bale out, and we'll get to that in a second. They are looking to bring in Kylian Mbappe, but that's going to be next year, it appears. They've already got the piggy bank set up. They're putting the money in. Zidane wants him. He has been, according to reports out of France, turning down the opportunity to do a new deal at PSG. So it looks like Real Madrid is preparing a bid for Mbappe for next year, where you would hope that the financials are a little bit better. Now, Gareth Bale is an interesting one. Mark Ogden at the ESPN FC is reporting that Tottenham has moved ahead of Manchester United in the race to sign Bale. Jose Mourinho has said he wants attacking reinforcements. The Bale and Real Madrid stuff, they want him out. Manchester United has talked to Real Madrid. Bale is the backup option to Jadon Sancho, which, as we've heard many, many times, that's not happening. Borussia Dortmund's been pretty clear, like, y'all missed the deadline. It ain't happening. Forget it. But they're still plowing ahead with that. So now while they're plowing ahead with that and Bale's the backup, Tottenham might just come in and say, well, we'll just do the deal. A couple different ways this could get done. There is reportedly at least a willingness on Real Madrid's part to sell Bale for £18 million. But since they want him gone so badly and they want to cut the wage bill with him so badly, they might do a loan deal that would share the cost of his salary, which is £600,000 a week. So Tottenham, I think Tottenham has the control here, to be perfectly honest. They might have, now this is where it gets, the little three-way dance gets tricky, because Tottenham's in control. Tottenham can say, we're not paying $18 million for him. No, we're not doing it. We'll take him on loan, and you're going to help pay his salary. But if they don't get to wherever Real Madrid wants them to get, Manchester United could come back in at the end and say, oh, well, we'll give more than that. So Tottenham have the opportunity right now to get a deal done, but they've got to dance to the tune that Real Madrid wants them to. But they're ahead of Manchester United right now because Manchester United's still chasing after Sancho, which isn't going to happen. It's so weird. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. He's not going to be at Real Madrid, in my opinion. Tottenham would benefit more from him, I think.
Yes.
Manchester United, I think it's a position that they don't need as desperately, and they should be looking at other things. But they're really hard on this road of getting an extra attacking wide player. I don't get it. I don't know why they're still chasing after Sancho at this point. I think it's pretty obvious it's not going to happen. But they might miss out on Bale because Tottenham might swoop in and get it done. I mean, $18 million is not crazy. That's not a crazy amount of money here to spend. Now, that plus the salary is a lot. And maybe you've got to figure that out. So I don't know. Keep an eye on it. It will be interesting. Keep an eye on Rodrigo De Paul from Udinese. He might be headed to Leeds. Looks like Zenit came in at the last minute, but he doesn't want to go to Russia. He wants to go to England. He wants to go to Leeds. He's liking Leeds supporters' comments on his social media, so people are like, oh, okay. Could be around £37 million, which is $47 million. Leeds reportedly has offered less than that, but he doesn't want to go anywhere else. So we'll see where that one falls. Lots of random stuff from around the world to catch up on this morning. For Kansas City fans, the last one, Juan Sanchez Mino from Independiente. That looked like it was a done deal, and that would have been a really good get for them. Well, he's now rescinded his deal at Independiente because they can't afford to pay people. Like, they've got so many deals they've had to make because they can't pay people anymore. Mino has rescinded the deal at Independiente. So basically, he's out of the contract, and he's going to walk to go on a free to Elche in Spain. He's not going to Kansas City. So Kansas City missed out on that, and I don't know how, because it sounded like they were willing to pay a transfer. I don't know what happened. So that's a crazy one on the Kansas City end, because that was reported as a done deal last week, and now he's on a free going to Spain. Just nuts. I mean, I don't know. It's not like they even played Kansas City because they didn't get anything out of the deal. You know, like, it doesn't make any sense if they were willing to pay a transfer unless Mino just said, I'm not going. I'm not taking that deal. I don't know. But that's a shame for Kansas City. He would have been a really good purchase. And for those of you who weren't with us last night, to catch up on the conversations about the Atlanta United transfer front, I want to update this from our friend Julie Michelis from TIC. He was the first one I saw with this. Rocco Rios Novo, who is a youth goalkeeper. He's 18 years old at Lanús. He's their third goalkeeper in the senior national team. Played in the U17 World Cup for Argentina. Played in the South American qualifiers before that. He is reportedly part of the Marcelino Moreno conversation. He would come to Atlanta on loan with an option to buy, which I've seen reports at $3 million. That did not come from Michelis. And the crazy thing about it is you hear that and you're like, okay, an international goalkeeper, that's not where I expected this to go. He was born in Los Angeles. So he is an American citizen, and he would not take up an international slot. So that's where it stands right now. By all accounts out of Argentina, that deal is very close to being done, and we will see when it gets announced on this side. But all the reporting there, to the point that journalists are basically saying their goodbyes to Marcelino Moreno. So it has kind of gotten to that point now.
Nathan Pugh is in this morning. He says he heard that rumor from last night about the young keeper from Lanús. He says young goalkeepers are raw and definitely do not always pan out, but I like the idea of thinking ahead and giving plenty of options. I've never been convinced of Gazan.
Well, no, I have to utterly disagree with that. Never been convinced of Brad Gazan. Brad Gazan's one of the best goalkeepers in MLS. He has been. There's no question about it. The numbers are there. Since 2017 when he joined the team, and he didn't even play the first half of that season, he's got as many clean sheets as anybody in the league. He is tied with Luis Robles for that honor. He's been really, really good, but he's also getting older. And you don't know how many years he has in him. I think he's had some goals this season that have been questionable, which, I mean, it happens. It hasn't become a trend just yet, but you do have to look to the future. Now, this is a club that does have the opportunity to potentially sign Justin Garces at UCLA on a homegrown deal, but he has not played as a professional yet. I believe he made one appearance for Atlanta United 2 on an academy deal before he went to UCLA. You have Vicente Reyes, who made his USL debut recently in the championship. He is on an academy deal. He is a Chilean youth international who's grown up here in the Atlanta area. And now you're getting one kind of in between those two in ages, if this move is true. So you've got good coverage and young goalkeepers coming up. That's not even getting into Alec Cann and Brendan Moore, who are at stages older than the goalkeepers we just talked about. So you've got a pretty good depth chart if you bring him in for goalkeepers at a variety of ages to emerge. And I don't think it is an emerge tomorrow conversation, but it is an emerge for the future and eventually become that number one for Atlanta United. When that is, I don't know. But it's good to have options. And to get a player like this, it doesn't take up an international slot. That's a youth international for Argentina. You get a chance to bring them in on a loan with an option to buy at a reasonable number. All makes a lot of sense.
Nathan continues. He says, I know it's not all his fault, but he got relegated, meaning Brad, with some awful teams in England. He's found his niche here, but I believe an upgrade is possible. Not piling expectations on this potential young guy or others we have, but I would like more options. I would like more money of the cap put toward defenders and keepers. The defending in MLS can be a joke a lot of times, e.g. just look at the number of fouls in any given match. Caught out, poor tactical awareness, and bad starting positions by goalkeepers. # Tuesday Thoughts.
Teams that invest in defense are teams who win championships, in my opinion. And I think you can look back at the last few champions and see that. I mean, you look at Atlanta invested in defense more than most expansion teams. I think Nashville took notes on that, and they went down that road far more than Miami did, although Miami's catching up. Seattle, now last year had some weird things going on with Chad Marshall retiring early in the season. That wasn't expected. But they're a team that has went out and brought in defenders with pedigrees to come into that team. Toronto went out and got Chris Mavinga, which was a good get for them in 2017, was a big part of their title win. When Seattle in 2016 won Chad Marshall. I think you have to have a certain level to get there. And then the goalkeepers, I mean, you're talking about Stephen Fry, who's been one of the best in MLS during his time in Seattle. You're talking about Brad Gazan. Who was the goalkeeper in Toronto in 17? Was that Irwin, or was it Bono at that point, who was on a hot streak?
I think it was Irwin.
I think Bono took over in the middle of that season and won the spot, and then now he's fallen off, and Quentin Westberg took it, which can happen. But in general, if you invest defensively, you're going to be a winning team. The cap makes it tough because for a lot of teams, your spend there is not just on bringing in a top player. It is bringing in a top player who sells shirts and sells tickets. And as we know, because, I mean, what's the conversation been about any player talked about in an Atlanta United universe these days? And Atlanta's not the only club, fan base who does this, but, how many goals they score? How many assists they score? Oh, they only scored this many goals? They're no good. That's no good. Then what are defenders? Defenders are not seen by a lot of fans as somebody you're going to buy the shirt or somebody you're going to buy a ticket to go see. So when you're allocating your cap, you're going to spend on the attacking players. And you're going to then allocate what you can to the defense. The teams that allocate more are the teams that are more successful. But the spending with a cap limits how much you can spend on that for a lot of teams. You have to be really smart in what you go get. I'd be fine if you're able to put a little bit more towards it, but it's hard to find where you cut to make that happen. Goalkeeper for me is a position because of depth around the league that if you're going to spend big, you better get the top guy. Otherwise, you can go get somebody who's more cost-effective and productive because that combination is really important at goalkeeper. This is a country that is deep in goalkeepers. Defense, a little bit different conversation. Goalkeepers, you can get an American goalkeeper at a good price and do well. Defense, you got to invest in, and we'll see. It's a balancing act with a cap, though. It always is.
In 2017, Clint Irwin had 6 appearances for Toronto FC, and then Alex Bono had the other 28.
That's what I was saying. Bono took over. I think he actually his first start was against Atlanta in the game up there. That was a 2-2, if I remember right. I think Irwin had a minor injury. Bono got the job and kept it the rest of the way, and then eventually he was replaced by Westberg.
April the 8th.
Yeah. What's on the Twitters?
On the Twitters, going back to the Leeds United discussion, Chris Ashley wanted the breaking freaking news sounder.
We don't have that, but I know what he's talking about.
And so Leeds United is going to have Season 2 of Take Us Home on the 17th release.
It's not a full season. It's not a full season. It's a couple of episodes. But it takes them to the Premier League, which is pretty cool. I think it's 2 episodes. Chris, if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not a full season like we're seeing right now with All or Nothing on Spurs. It's, I think, basically like an epilogue to the original season. Yeah. Which they lost in the playoffs and they didn't get through. So it would cover last season in the championship.
And going back to our discussion last night from Soccer Over There, Four-Card agrees about the Deportivo Binacional crest. He says, "You're right, this crest is hard," in all caps.
It's something. We discovered Deportivo Binacional FC in Peru. They're playing in the Copa LIbertadores tonight. They're a 10-year-old club with a crest that looks like it was created by about 6 different people with maybe chemical enhancements in the creation process, possibly.
Yes.
It's amazing. And this is a club that's in their first Copa Libertadores. They won their first Peruvian title last year. They played in the Sudamericana last year. They've been in the top flight in Peru for like a couple of years. Crazy, crazy story. And they're playing in Libertadores tonight. They host LDU Quito from Ecuador. They won their first game against Sao Paulo in Peru, which was a wild upset win. Then they went to Buenos Aires and got beat 8-0 by River. So it's who knows what happens tonight.
So let's see. It was a parted coat of arms, the flags of both the regions the team has played in. Lake Titicaca is in there.
Of course.
Coat of arms has 2 muscular pumas with an Adidas Telstar and 3 golden stars. So, yes, I believe chemical enhancement might have helped here.
Yeah, I think it was a must to come up with all those different things. It was wild. Did not expect to see that. Did not expect to have that happen last night on Soccer Over There as we're going through Libertadores and we go down the rabbit hole of Binacional.
And their kit, their lead sponsor on their kit, the McDowell's of sporting goods.
You might want to explain a little bit more. It is a company called New Athletic, and their logo looks quite similar to another one called New Balance that you might know. Athletic would have an A instead of a B for balance, but the rest of it's pretty much the same. And they do that kind of pretty much the same idea with a lot of their shoes. You'll notice a few shoes that are quite reminiscent of a certain Jumpman and his shoes. And I'm kind of shocked that nobody's went down to Peru to have a few words.
Newathletic.com.pe is the catalog if you want to look for yourself. And I'm shocked that I actually remembered that.
It's It was an interesting show last night.
Eric Sanders is in this morning, and he would like to know your thoughts on Jefferson Soteldo. He could be a great addition to the left side following a probable departure of Barco in the next few windows.
Yeah, I really like him. He's a player who, it's kind of weird. He was linked to moves quite often want to say last year. It might have even been the year before, and nothing has materialized with him. And I don't know why. I mean, he's short. That's one thing we can definitely factor in. He's not a tall player. Very good on the ball. He's 23 now. 17 caps for Venezuela. He's valued at $8.8 million according to Transfermarkt. He's currently at Santos. He allegedly is under contract there through 2023. I think they re-upped him to sell him. He started in Venezuela, then went to Chile, moved to Santos for $3.36 million at the beginning of 2019. I think it was probably the summer of 2019 when rumors started about him moving on. And Atlanta's been linked, I think, probably because of the Joseph Martinez connection, but never anything too credible, honestly. And it's just kind of gotten quiet, and I don't know, why that is. I think he could be a good fit, especially on that left side. But I don't know why he hasn't moved on from Santos yet. I'm not sure, and I need to do a little more digging on him to see if there's a reason why things cooled off for him to move from Santos.
5 takes on the 5 stripes is in this morning. And yesterday, the Portland Timbers announced Sebastian Blanco's undergone successful surgery to repair the torn ACL. The question from 5 takes is that this seemed to happen much faster than Joseph's surgery. Thoughts on that? Different level of severity? Maybe COVID was playing a big role at the time?
I could throw 20 things out at you that are reasons for it, and they're all speculation. I mean, COVID was definitely a thing at that time. You also can't do the surgery until swelling goes down, and we don't know the comparison between the two. We don't know the severity between the two, which could affect the swelling. The COVID situation is one that I could easily see affecting it in combination with swelling, because Joseph was injured on the 29th of February. I believe the announcement was 2 days later, on March 2nd. Not even a week and a half later. COVID was still, it was a thing at that point. I mean, it was 10 days later that everything was suspended. So I don't know if he wanted to wait. I don't know if travel was an issue with it. I don't know. But there's a lot of different reasons that we won't have an answer to. I don't think it necessarily means anything any which way. Every ACL injury is different.
And a couple of folks have gone back and forth with that. Katie Weaver says Twitch is finicky, but she was blaming the internet. The app is fine.
That's not with that. What?
No. I went to it. I went on. Other folks were having conversations. I've moved on.
Okay.
Other folks were contributing to the 5 takes thought, and so they're having their conversations, and we like those kinds of things. Katie Weaver says Twitch is finicky, but she was blaming the internet. The app is fine, and she wants me to type louder.
Yes, get a hammer and beat on your keyboard with it. And then when you write on your notepad too, make it louder for everybody, please. You're going to have to figure out how things work with a real microphone now, and this is going to be absurd. Weird things will happen on John's end because he has a mic that actually works now.
Yeah. Jason Heinley says the app is good as well.
Yeah,
Nathan Pugh.
It's something, and I don't know what it is on Twitch that is making it stop starty. There's nothing else I can do on my end. It's something with the connection to Twitch. I don't know if they're just overloaded or if they're having some issues. It does happen from time to time. So sorry about that for those of you who watch on Twitch all the time, and we appreciate you. But
yes,
you can go to the app and get the audio portion, and we'll keep trying to restart the stream on Twitch and see if that helps it from buffering so much.
Yeah, Shiva says every time she goes to Twitch, it disconnects. Prediction from El Mataflow for tonight's action with LDU Quito and Binacional, and we actually have the juice boxes on this one.
I was about to say, I need juice boxes on all the Libertadores games tonight.
We have them, and
okay.
we got plenty of juice boxes. So, but since El Mataflow has given his prediction of 3-1 LDU, he goes, LDU will win for sure. Mark it.
Well, El Mataflo is a little biased. I don't know if LDU's his team, Mataflo. Please let us know. I know you are a little biased to teams out of Ecuador. I understand that. That's fine.
Yes.
But we are pulling for Binacional around here. I have nothing else to tell you. That logo is amazing. I will pull for the possibly chemically enhanced Pumas that are standing on their hind legs and look very beefy. I am pulling for them. El Poderoso del Sur.
Yes. So along those lines, the juice boxes are available, courtesy of our friends in the Composite, and it ain't looking good. LDU Quito minus 182 for the win. You might want to. Which one of the Humexes is your least favorite so far?
I've only had two. I'm not putting Humex through this. What's the number?
Plus 539.
Yeah, it's accurate. They got beat 8-0 in their last game. I mean, are we surprised by this?
No.
They've been all right in the Peruvian League. LDU Quito's been very good in Ecuador. Those numbers are fine. I don't have a problem with that. That feels pretty accurate. Like, you don't even know any players for Binacional, so why are you acting like those numbers are crazy?
Just the sheer volume of a plus 539 coming across the board.
But when a team lost 8-0 in their last game in the competition,
you're going to punch a number that big.
Yeah, it's not rocket science. We've restarted Twitch if you want to try over there again. Abby has a point if you want to join the conversation on the Twitch pitch, because I know a lot of people we're a background noise for you guys going nuts on the Twitch pitch. You can use the audio on the app or on soccerdownhere.net, and you can put Twitch on chat only if you don't want the video there or the audio, and you can just join the chat section. So that's always an option for you. I'm not surprised. What are the other juice boxes for Copa Libertadores tonight?
All right, 6:15, and you can watch them where?
On BN Sport, and if you don't have BN Sport on your cable package, you can get it on Fanatis, FNTZ.co/soccer down here. And if you sign up for the free trial, that still helps the show. If you subscribe through that link, it also helps the show even more. But if you just want the free trial to watch some Libertadores action and sample what else is on the Fanatis with Teise, with Colombian League, with you have to get another package for the Brasileiro, but it has been worth it. I've enjoyed watching both the first and second division. Goal TV, if you don't have that on your cable package, if you want to watch LDU Quito and the Ecuador League, the Ecuador Serie A, you can watch it on Fanatis. But you got a free trial, 7 days. You can subscribe. You can add the Brasileiro package. You can add the Italian language package with Rai Italia. And if you go through fntz.co/soccer down here, you are supporting the show, and we appreciate it.
All right, so here's your juice boxes for the matchups today. We have the whole run, as a matter of fact, for the next couple days.
Oh, okay.
Colo-Colo and Peñarol at 6:15. Colo-Colo a plus 146, Peñarol a plus 200, and your draw is a plus 209.
Colo-Colo's at home. Take Colo-Colo. You get a plus number at home, and both teams are on new managers in the last month or so. Go Colo-Colo.
The other one at 6:15 is Wilstermann and Atletico.
Jorge Wilstermann, Bolivia. Yes. They haven't played since March.
So that's why they've got a plus 138.
They only have a plus 138? What's the other number?
Atletico's a plus 194, and your draw is a plus 231.
It's Atlético Paranaense from Brazil, who's not having a great season, but they've been playing against a team in Bolivia that hasn't played, but it's in Bolivia. I don't know if it's at the crazy altitude, but I think you have to go Paranaense here because, the Bolivian league is not at the same level as Brazil. Just it isn't. And they haven't been playing. So this is their first game back in months. Paranaense, you're getting a plus 190 something? Easy call.
Mm-hmm. We got the Binacional and the LDU Quito numbers. That one is at 8:30. The other one at 8:30 is Santos, Brazil, and Olympia Asuncion from Paraguay. Santos, home favorite, minus 127. Olympia is a plus 324, and your draw is a plus 274.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate right there. So if you want to watch Jefferson Soteldo and Santos, again, it's on beIN Sport tonight, 8:30. All the games will be on. There was a question in the Twitch pitch from Ricky Ricardo about Carlos Carmona still at Colo-Colo, and he is. He is not a regular player in the team. I'm going to check to see his most recent stats, but at 33, he is still part of the squad. And if you remember, when he went back there, one of the reasons was they were strengthening for a Libertadores run. The Chilean League has been back underway for a few weeks. Looks like the last week of August was when they came back. Carmona played. Did he play or was he in the squad? No, he started and got a yellow card, which is not a surprise. He started and was subbed out in the second half at halftime on September 9th in their 1-0 loss to O'Higgins. So Colo-Colo's not in a good way right now either. They have not won since the restart. 1 draw and 2 losses. But we'll see if Carmona plays tonight for Colo-Colo.
Jorge Wilstermann plays at the Estadio Sudamericano Felix Capriles in the town of Cochabamba, Bolivia, and that is definitely at altitude. It is in a valley in the Andes at 8,392 feet.
Yeah, well, the one thing you got to check, though, and I don't know if you'll be able to find it, is if that stadium is able to host Libertadores matches, because there are plenty of teams in this competition from some of the smaller countries and some of the smaller teams that qualify that their stadium doesn't meet the requirements and they have to play elsewhere. And I remember at one point, and for you guys who follow the South American game closely, at one point there were stadiums in Bolivia that they did not allow these games to be held in because of the altitude being so high. I think they made them play somewhere else in the country. I don't know if Jorge Wilstermann was one of those that had to move. See what we can find out, but that'll factor in. It's just they haven't played. I mean, I don't know how they can be such a favorite. I mean, they're the favorite in this match, and they haven't played a competitive game, I think, since March. Let's see if we've got results here out of Bolivia. They last played on March 14th. It was match day 12 of the Bolivian League. And their next game from March 14th is tonight. And there's no restart date for Bolivia yet. So Bolivia, Venezuela, and Argentina do not have official restart dates yet. Venezuela, I don't know where it stands. They've been close to restarting, according to reports, but it hasn't yet. Bolivia, at one point, was going to have a national team camp at the beginning of this month and then restart the league afterwards, but with no national team matches. That got postponed, and I don't know about the restart of the league. There are no dates set that I see. And Argentina was originally going to have their mini league, the League Cup, essentially. That was going to start on the 27th of September. That's been pushed back to at least the middle of October now. So Argentine teams, which all of them play on Thursday, Bolivian teams and Venezuelan teams are going to be at a distinct disadvantage in the Libertadores matches this week.
Courtesy of our friends at Los Tiempos, Edwin Fernandez Rojas says that the Felix Capriles Stadium passed the exam and is ready to receive the match that will star Wilstermann and Atletico Paranaense on Tuesday.
Well, there you go.
Rodrigo Sanchez said that director of the Departmental Sports Service, everything is in order. We explained the biosecurity plan that will be put in place, the practice the day of the match, entry and exit of the protagonists, refereeing, medical personnel, verified the dressing rooms, the meeting rooms, and they signed off on, how was it phrased here? I've got to see. It has to do with the the size of the grass was how it was. The height of the lawn and the demarcation of the playing field. That's translated from Google. But yes, so Felix Capriles has been approved for the match for Jorge Wilstermann tonight.
Okay, that's a new one. I've not heard any complaints about the length of the grass coming into these approval processes, but welcome to Libertadores action.
Yes.
Why don't you, before we get into the next little bit of controversy when it comes to the Libertadores, because this might take a little bit longer conversation, why don't you tell us about our good friend Steve Apolinsky in Decatur, GA?
I could do that. Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH networks. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, if this is a road that you need to discuss, you can discuss it with Apolinsky and Associates. You can discuss it with Steve himself. You can shoot him an email, Steve, STEVE, at aa-legal.com, or you can go to the website, aa-legal.com. When you hit return, you hit enter, you hit the arrow button, the pop-up window pops up because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up. You can have an instant conversation with somebody 24/7, 365 and a quarter, or you can get a free consultation by giving them a call at 404-377-9191. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine. We're being one of the top 100 firms in the state of Georgia with over 30 years of experience, over $40 million for wrongful death and serious injury matters for their clients in Georgia and Alabama. Apolinsky and Associates, LLC.
The same day the Senate was briefed on coronavirus, David Perdue bought medical equipment stock.
All right, David Perdue, settle down with your ad.
Bought vaccine stock.
That's not okay.
All while telling us.
The popped collar and the denim shirt.
Man, he just jumped in with an ad on Diario Olay. That's nuts.
Wow, that's targeting.
Targeting Argentine? Wow. Okay, I'm blown away by that. David Perdue. What the?
Wow.
Good grief. The reason I was checking that is if you are not paying attention to this news out of Argentina and the Libertadores, I do think it's important because of the way that they are dealing with testing. Boca had an outbreak. Boca had 22 players at one point who tested positive, along with more coaching staff and I think other support staff. They play in Paraguay. They play Libertad in Paraguay on Thursday. They have players who tested positive over 2 weeks ago who are still testing positive. Different health organizations have defined the ability to still be contagious in different ways. I haven't seen anybody say that you're contagious for more than 14 days. I think some have had it as low as 10. The question that Boca put forward to CONMEBOL and to the Paraguayan Minister of Health was, we've had these players who have tested positive for more than 2 weeks. We need them because I believe some of them are starters, and we don't know exactly which players are doing what in terms of testing, but it's been discussed in Argentina that these are important players, and we need them to play. We don't know why they're still testing positive. I would assume that they're not showing any symptoms at this point, and that's why they want them to play. Well, CONMEBOL and the Paraguayan Minister of Health have allowed them to travel to Asunción for the match against Libertad. Now, this morning, and this was posted 30 minutes ago from Diario Olay before Purdue crashed it, Boca is being tested again, and they're traveling later today to Paraguay. But they've been tested again this morning, and that's setting off a few alarm bells as to what's going on here. Is there something wrong? I don't know if there is. I don't know if this is standard testing. But the whole idea of the testing protocols and allowing players to play, generally, and this has been pretty consistent in leagues in this country, and I believe most leagues around the world, they don't allow somebody to play if they're testing positive. I don't remember a situation like this outside of maybe Paulo Dybala, who it was reported really strange, and it was in the early days of this where I think people were figuring all the stuff out on the fly, that he would test positive and test negative and test positive and test negative. Like, I think they said he tested positive like 5 different times at different points. And did he ever fully clear the virus? What was going on? I don't really know. I don't know if that's the same comparison here. It was Will Smith, the pitcher for the Braves early on, who kept testing positive even though he felt fine, if I remember right, and he wasn't allowed to rejoin the team because he kept testing positive. Now, I don't remember if it got outside of the 14-day period. I don't think that it did. Generally, it's been you have to test negative twice to be able to rejoin activity. That's been the consistency of how things have been handled in this country, and as far as I know, in MLS. Now, I don't know in USL where they're testing once a week if it's just one negative test gets you back with no symptoms. I think the with no symptoms is an understanding here that we can all operate under. If you have symptoms and you test negative, you're still not participating. If you have no symptoms and you are testing negative after testing positive, I think you do it twice, at least in most leagues, you're able to come back. This is very different. But the time period is the difference here. And this is where, look, I don't know. I don't know if this is a risk. I don't know if this is not a risk. The whole part about how long you're contagious is something that I'm assuming everybody is still figuring out. I've seen 10 to 14 days as a pretty consistent measure of you first test positive, you have enough in your system, you test positive after 10 to 14 days, and it depends on who you're talking to, you're not contagious anymore. Even if you're still having symptoms, which is a different conversation than what's going on with Boca, or if you're not having symptoms, but there's still virus in you that's testing you positive. This has been a lot of back and forth. Libertad's lawyers have submitted an official letter to CONMEBOL protesting the decision. They play on Thursday. I would assume there's going to be a whole lot of talk between now and then about this situation.
Swickster's in, and he says if a swab is able to pick up the virus from your throat or nose area, then chances are a cough or heavy breathing, etc., are going to expel the virus. That seems like a common sense scenario of being contagious. # Tuesday Thoughts.
That's what I would think, too. Now, it's been pretty consistently discussed, and our friend Bernd Dursberger was with us last night when we were discussing this on Soccer Over There. And he said that the European opinion, and from Bernd, it's probably coming from the German media, was that the 14-day situation is pretty commonly accepted. I don't know. I'm shocked that they're allowing players who are still testing positive at any point to travel and play. The travel part, I think, is maybe being a little overblown in the sense that they're not going to come in contact with people. They're not going to be running around the streets of Paraguay. Like that's not happening here. They're basically going into a lockdown scenario when they travel. That was part of the deal that CONMEBOL set up with all the governments in South America to do this competition. So you're not putting Paraguayans at risk. I don't think you're putting Libertad at risk. You're putting Boca players at risk. It's more about the traveling party that I think is truly at risk here if there is a concern about transmission. But I don't know. I've just never seen a competition or a team take this step. But I don't remember ever hearing of this situation either where somebody is still testing positive for that period of time. That's what's so weird about this. And look, it's one reason why this has got to be so difficult for these leagues and teams because we don't know. Everybody's figuring this out on the fly. It's tough, and I think people to this day aren't 100% sure. And Mazzano shared an article that I've seen before about, I don't know how you measure it, the level of how contagious people are. We know that there are asymptomatic people who are contagious, and that has been pretty well documented. But the degree of how contagious you are is something that I don't think they really know yet. Because how could you? This thing hasn't been around that long. But I haven't seen anybody take this step. It's a big test of a theory. And my fear, it's not Libertad, it's not airport staff, it's not where I think a lot of people are jumping. My fear is that this starts another outbreak in Boca's squad if these players are still contagious. Yeah, that's the part that I'm worried about. I don't think it's going to spread elsewhere because you're not going to be in close contact with people for very long. The people you're going to be in close contact with are your teammates and the people who are with the club. That's the part that is is wild. I don't know.
Mark Bowman from MLB. Will Smith first tested positive July 4th. He was cleared on the 26th. So 3 weeks.
There's 3 weeks, but he wasn't cleared because it was 3 weeks. He had to test negative to get to that point.
Yes.
And that's MLB here, and that's in July. This is September. We've learned a little bit more by then, I think is fair to say. But this is a huge story in South America right now, as it should be. This is a controversial decision to allow it. I think a lot of people are surprised that the Paraguayan Minister of Health allowed it, because if they had said no, if the department had said no, he wouldn't have been able to travel into the country. Now, then Boca might have appealed and fought it and all that. We don't know how it would have went down. But the Minister of Health agreed to it. It wasn't just CONMEBOL saying, yep, sure, whatever. It wasn't just Boca saying, yep, sure, whatever. The Minister of Health of Paraguay is allowing them into the country. And I don't know how many people it is. I'm not sure on that. And maybe this is what I'm afraid of, because we've seen this stuff happen. Boca's doing new testing this morning. They're going to come back and say, oh, no, everybody's good. False alarm. We're cool. Everybody tested negative. We'll see you in Paraguay. And then how do you question that? This is fun. I just don't know.
Yeah. A couple of other folks are in on Twitter this morning. Nathan Pugh, when we got into our Mbappe discussion, he's using the hashtag Mbappe2021. And he says, black helicopters, Nike and Klopp, get on it, Fenway Sports Group.
No, it's not happening. You guys are plucky upstarts. You don't spend that kind of money, right? That's what I thought from Liverpool. I want to see how Liverpool keeps this group together and or replenishes when they need to. That's the next step for me. And we'll see. We'll see how they do it, because, look, they did a brilliant piece of business in selling Coutinho and funding their transfers for a while because Barcelona was incredibly dumb. Can they find another sucker like that for somebody? Maybe, possibly. Or they're going to have to spend because they can. They are just not, because they don't have to right now, because Barcelona funded their transfer budget.
Yes.
I don't see that one happening. I think most of the links have been Zidane and Mbappe. Zidane has been talking to him. That French connection is where a lot of people are pointing to, as that's going to put it over the line and get it done. And Real Madrid isn't spending this summer. They've handled the financial crisis better than most, because they probably started from a better position than most. By next summer, they're going to be able to spend whatever they need to spend. And getting Bale's contract off the books will help that financial picture as well. So I'd be shocked if he ends up anywhere other than Real Madrid.
Nathan also says, defense wins championships. Thanks, Jason, for the continued wisdom on that, and the captain for MLS. Forgive my harshness on Gazan. Just some things I cannot quite shake.
Yeah, I mean, but that's every goalkeeper. I just think the initial comment was harsh about, still questioning him. I don't think there's anything to question. The question long term is just going to be, how long can he keep it up? Because that becomes a question about all of us as we get older, especially pro athletes. So how long can he do what he's doing at the highest level? The blips you've seen this year, and there's been a couple, and there's been some issues. Are they just minor things? Are they mistakes? Are they a trend? And I don't think we have enough to judge that yet. But you want competition. And if you have the opportunity to go get an Argentine youth international goalkeeper who's not going to take up an international slot, yeah, you absolutely go do that. And you bring them in to push everybody around them. Alec Can included, the whole squad. Ben Lundgaard, I think he came here for that opportunity as well, joining Atlanta United too. He's been very good at times. I think his distribution has gotten better and better and better. Vicente Reyes coming through the academy, he could be a potential homegrown. Justin Garces at UCLA could be a potential homegrown, and they're not playing this fall, which stinks for him, but I think the Pac-12 is going to play in the spring when it comes to soccer, so he'll get those games. You've got a lot of options at goalkeeper, which is good, but that'll keep everybody on their toes, and that's the most important thing here. If this deal goes down, where Novo is included in the Marcelino Moreno transfer, that we're waiting to see when it goes down, but it sounds like it's a just a matter of time at this point.
Shiva's in this morning, and she has a Tuesday thought. She says, let's talk about Sounders a little. Are they a super club in your opinion? Every year, made the playoffs, 2 cups, great support, keep the core of their team while they bring new ones. They've been consistent and successful even in MLS 3.0. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they have to be. They are the club of the last decade. There's no question about that. Their playoff run, 2 titles, Open Cup success earlier in the decade. They had a Supporter Shield earlier in the decade. They were the club of the last decade. I don't think there's any question. Super club's a little bit different conversation depending on how you want to define it. If you're just defining it by on-field success, they are that. If you're defining it in the Galacticos Real Madrid kind of sense where they are bringing in superstars, you could question it. You could question it because who are their superstars right now? Raul Ruidiaz should be, and I'd love to see him be more of a superstar in this country because he's an incredible player, but I don't think he is the first, second, third, maybe fourth or fifth player that you think of when you think of MLS. Nico Ladero is an incredibly well-respected player. He's a star in Uruguay. Is he a star here? Probably not. Jordan Morris should be a U.S. soccer star. I think he is. People still want to talk about him not having a left foot, and he didn't want to go to Germany when he had the opportunity to. Jordan Morris might be one of the most important players for the U.S. men's national team in upcoming World Cup qualifying. He's that good. He's that important. He's that impactful. So they've got players who I think should be respected more nationally but aren't. But they don't have superstars. They don't have Carlos Vela. Joseph Martinez is a superstar in MLS circles. They didn't have a Pity Martinez, who was a superstar internationally in a lot of places, maybe more respected outside of Atlanta than he was in Atlanta. Zlatan, Chicharito, Blaise Matuidi, maybe Gonzalo Higuain, previously David Villa, Kaká, like Nani. Like they don't have those players. So in terms of super club, they're not going to get it because of that. But the success on the field, they should. And it's interesting because they kind of shifted a little bit. I mean, bringing in Clint Dempsey was a super club kind of move at the time. It definitely was. I mean, that got a ton of attention. The way they introduced him was really cool. His success with them was really big. It's interesting. So, are they a super club? I think they should be, but I don't know if they're necessarily looked at it because of the star power. Okay, we've got some different comments about this whole situation with Boca and Paraguay, and I want to reiterate a couple of things. When I talked about what Byrne said yesterday, it wasn't in terms of players being allowed to play. That was just in general from virologists and stuff, and Byrne chimed in to clarify. That's not to say that European leagues let players play without a negative test. He doesn't know that, and I haven't heard of that anywhere in the world. It was that in everyday life and medicine, German virologists have determined that people are not contagious anymore 14 days after a positive test, if they're otherwise healthy and without symptoms. So normal people would go back to work after 14 days. They're also not testing regularly, I would assume. So and that's been consistent. That's been the conversation here too, right? From what you've heard,
yes.
John?
Yes.
Because you're not testing every day. You're not in a testing environment like you are at a professional sports team. You know,
right.
If you've tested positive, and I've seen people that I know who have continually tested positive for a period of time, but they're not having any symptoms. They are healthy. Are they allowed back to work? And I think in some cases they are. Maybe in others they aren't. In Germany, according to Byrne, normal people can go back to work after that. And this is from YouTube at 35 on the Twitch pitch. This is from an article from the LA Times. In recent weeks, China and South Korea have reported that some patients who had recovered from COVID-19 tested positive again in follow-up visits. In extreme cases, patients in the Chinese city of Wuhan, where the outbreak began late last year, reportedly tested positive 70 days after recovery. And, yeah, I mean, what do you do? Especially in this situation where you're talking about professional athletes and playing games, and you would think healthy people to do what they do, and if they are healthy but they are still testing positive after this period of time. It hasn't happened anywhere else that I've heard of. I have not heard of this. Will Smith was the only one where I remember there being a conversation because Freddie Freeman was not feeling well.
Yes.
And he tested positive. And he bounced back quickly and tested negative and joined the team quicker than they expected. Will Smith was the opposite. He was not feeling sick. He kept testing positive and was not able to rejoin the team until he tested negative. And if it was once or twice or whatever, I don't know that protocol. So that's the only one I can think of in this situation where it was a player an athlete who tested positive after the 14 days and was not allowed to participate because they hadn't tested negative yet. Boca, CONMEBOL, and the Paraguayan Minister of Health have went the other direction. They've followed more of what Bernd is saying about your average person. If they are not testing regularly and they test positive and they do their quarantine, and after 14 days of testing positive, it is believed that they are not contagious and they can return to work. That is the model, essentially, that Boca Juniors, CONMEBOL, and the Paraguayan Minister of Health are following. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
But Major League Baseball did not follow that with Will Smith. And I can't think of any other baseball cases. I can't think of any cases like that in MLS where somebody was continually testing positive after the 14-day period. Or at least it hasn't been reported.
Right.
So this situation with Boca is a fascinating one from that regard because, look, this is going to be an issue for a while. You know, this is not going to go away tomorrow. This is going to be something that leagues and teams have to deal with. It's going to be a big thing that they have to do. And the protocols around it are changing consistently. So I don't know what's right and wrong here. I don't. The 10 to 14 day thing has been fairly consistent worldwide in terms of being contagious. So I do understand the logic in this. I get it that if they've went through their isolation, if they're not showing symptoms, if they tested positive, if it's 14 days is their benchmark, okay, it was 14 days ago, but they're still testing positive, but they're not sick. I get the logic of saying, well, they're not contagious. It's all good. And the most important thing, and this is where I feel like Libertad's protest and their letter is not accurate in terms of the risk. They're not going to be around Paraguayans for long periods of time. If they are chartering like a normal charter flight would be, they're not going to deal with people at the airport, which is my understanding of how this was all set up. You're not going to be in close contact with people at the hotel. You know, we talked about it with the MLS bubble ad nauseum. Like, you're not hanging out with the front desk staff. You're not hanging out with the cleaning crew. It's that 15 minutes of close contact within 6 feet without a mask idea. You're not going to be in that situation. You're not in that situation in the game. That doesn't happen. That's been reported through multiple studies. There's not been, that I know of, a situation of transmission between two teams in an athletic competition. That has not been reported yet. The transmission where teams have had issues is within the team.
Yes.
You can go St. Louis Cardinals, you can go Miami Marlins on this, you can go FC Dallas, you can go Nashville SC, you can add Boca Juniors to that list. That's been where there's been spread. It's been within a team. So if anybody is at real risk here with this decision, it's Boca Juniors at risk, in my opinion. Look, I wish we knew. I wish we knew more. I wish we knew, is this the best way forward? Is this a risky way forward? Is it they should know better way forward? I don't know if we have any of the answers to any of that. It's really difficult, and I just don't know what to say about it. I was surprised when I saw it because it is riskier than saying the idea of you have to test negative twice. There's no doubt about that. It's riskier than that. That is the absolute safest, clear way. But is this way truly risky? And I don't know. We haven't seen it yet that I know of. I have not seen a similar situation to this.
Bart is in this morning. Bartimus Prime says, recently, and at the beginning of this season, I saw a narrative that the Atlanta United Academy is not producing enough, that the roster issues the first team has are caused by the low quality of academic products. I don't think that's fair, given the Academy is only 5 years old, nor do I think it's valid because Bello and Wolf playing for the first team now, as well as Campbell and others on Atlanta United too, plus on loan. Bart's question, what's the ideal timeline for an academy to produce?
It's sure longer than 5 years. That narrative was ridiculous. I don't know where it started. I don't know who started it. I have no idea, but that's absurd. How many academy players has Minnesota produced, by the way? They started at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go look it up. You're not going to find anything. You're not going to find any answers. You're not going to find many minutes there that academy players have played for them, if any. How many academy products have we seen play big minutes in Orlando? They started 2 years before. Nah. NYC's had a few. And NYC got a good deal with Joe Scally. Will be headed to Germany after the season. Still not a lot. Go further back. I mean, it's not easy. How many clubs in the world are producing a whole bunch of academy products? How many big clubs that you are big fans of are producing all these academy products? I mean, Barcelona's lost their way. Barcelona had the greatest academy in the world, and they've lost their way. It's not easy to do it, first off. What Atlanta's done in a short period of time is not normal. And it's very impressive. And it was a joke of a narrative. I don't even know what the intent of that narrative is. Does Minnesota have a George Bello? Does NYC have a George Bello? Does Orlando have a George Bello? Does LAFC have a George Bello? No. No. And the academy started with your U12s that came into it. Your U12s were the youngest group that came into that. So you had 10 and 11-year-olds in your U12 group, day one of the academy, fall of 2016. How old are those kids now? 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
They're just starting to get into that realm where you're looking at them for youth national team camps. You're looking for them to make that next step. Those were the ones who started. The other ones came in from other clubs. They might have developed at another club. They played their last year at the Atlanta United Academy and moved on. There's not a whole lot of development going on there. And there's talent. I mean, Andrew Carlton has been a youth internationals, played in a Youth World Cup. Chris Goslin was a great player at a Youth World Cup. Never happened for him. Go through the list of great players who played at Youth World Cups who came through Manchester United, who came through Arsenal, who came through Chelsea, who came through Bayern Munich, who didn't make it. It happens. It happens. It's not a science. It's not easy. It is a long-term process to build an academy. To expect the academy to be impacting the first team in a major way before year 4, I'm sorry. People who say that don't know what they're talking about. There's just no other way around it. There isn't. There's just no way around it. So I don't know what to say to it. It's a really poor narrative, and it's kind of an insulting narrative, to be perfectly honest. Dallas took a while to get their academy figured out. Oscar Pereja did a great job building it. Luchi Gonzalez continued to maintain it. They created a process over a period of time. Philadelphia took a while to get their process going, and now it's been effective. Other teams are starting to figure things out. Some don't do a good job of it. DC finally made their academy free to play in. Finally. They made a big announcement about it yesterday, like it was something to be proud of. They were one of the last teams. I think they were the last ones after Minnesota changed their academy up that was charging people to play. There's a lot of teams who've been around a whole lot longer than Atlanta United who have done nothing with their academy. To expect it to be like the primary source of your first team players in 3 years, it's not how any of this works. And you can look, that's the thing. You can say whatever you want. And you can make up whatever narrative you want, but that is just completely and utterly false. And you have to know that. Just think about it. Players who are going to be contributing in big minutes. How many 17 and 18-year-olds do you see contributing in big minutes in the world of soccer, period? Not many.
Nope.
When those kids would have joined the academy, if they were in the first class, you're going 3 years back. Because if it was a failure coming into the season, then you're going 3 years back. A 17-year-old would have been 14 when they joined the academy. And you're expecting them to turn into a first-team starter in 3 years and be an impactful player. And if they don't, then the academy's wrong. Come on, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. When you see that stuff, call it out. Because, I mean, you just have to think through it. You know, you don't see an Ansu Fati come through every day. You don't see a bunch of teams with that. Kansas City's done a good job with homegrowns. Thank you, Bern. That's a good point. And they've done a very good job with that, and they've also recruited from outside their area. They did a good job of identifying a pipeline in North Carolina, and it's paid off for them. And it took them a while to figure out how to do that, too, because they started in 1996. And they've only started to figure it out in the last 5, 6, maybe 7 years. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of work to maintain. Some MLS teams don't even have an academy, according to Shiva. That's not true. They all have some form of a youth program because you have to, because it's mandated. Some of them don't take it very seriously, and they basically outsource it to like partnerships. There are a lot of teams that do that, and that's fine because that's the situation worldwide. You see plenty of major clubs who don't really do a lot with their academy. They have it, but they don't really produce players from it. And you see others who, have to live by what they produce in their academy. I will be very interested over the worldwide side. It's good to know that the Twitch broadcast is working again. That's awesome. Thanks,
yes.
Mazzano. I'll be interested to see on the worldwide side of the game over the next probably 4 to 5 years, to be honest. If some clubs that previously spent a lot on incoming transfers instead reinvest in their academy to produce players just because of necessity right now. Or some maybe actually really start a true academy because a lot of clubs around the world don't have one because they can't afford it and they don't have it and they don't have the resources to do it or they don't have the people to do it. It's not easy. So to think that it's easy to get it in 3 years to where it is, fulfilling the bulk of your first team, that's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And I don't know why that narrative started or who started it or what the point was because it's just completely and utterly incorrect.
A couple of others on the Twitters this morning so far. Nathan's back in with his hashtag Mbappe 2021. And he says, every party has a pooper. That's why we invited you.
That's fine.
Party pooper. Party pooper.
But you'd lose your narrative if you're a Liverpool fan if you go out and get Mbappe. You're not a plucky upstart anymore if you go out and do that. It's not happening. It's not happening. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and then Daniel Price is in. He says, just checking in. Good morning, guys. He wanted to say thank you for the scarf. His collection grows. And he says, the Academy for Atlanta has been outstanding. Our players coming out of our development and players coming up through the twos have been great thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been outstanding. You can argue that it's not outstanding. That's fine. But to say that it's been a failure and it's affecting the first team, that's just utterly incorrect. There's just no other way to say it. It's false. You can say they need to produce more, they need to produce these kinds of players, they need to do this, they need to do that. You can say all that, and that's accurate because every academy has that. Again, Barcelona. Read about the work that Bielsa did at Newell's to really flesh their academy out. I mean, the guy was driving all over Argentina in a Fiat, going out and scouting these players all over the country because he felt like Newell's couldn't go get players. So they had to develop their own, and they didn't have enough in Rosario, so they went out and did it. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. He's kind of crazy. That's why. Manchester United used to develop a lot of internal talent. The class of 92. I don't remember a class of 98 or 2006 or any other year because it's not easy to do. So, yeah, I think this year you've seen a big difference in the level of the twos. Big difference. And I think it's because of the academy players coming through because they're at a higher level than they were. Why? Because they've been in the academy longer. Because, look, and this is not a knock in any way, and please don't take it in this way, but your neighborhood youth club is not geared to develop players for the professional level. Atlanta United's academy is. So when players come to the academy at 17 and they're coming from the neighborhood youth club, that's going to be tough to get them ready to be professionals. There's always special players who do it, but that's tougher. If you start in the professional academy at 10, at 11, at 12, it's different. You have a different mentality by the time you get to that level. And I think that's what we're seeing. You know, Will Riley's a different kind of player than you were seeing in year one of the academy because he's been through it. You know, George Campbell developed in the academy. George Campbell was not a player that people were rating before he signed a homegrown deal. I mean, people weren't paying attention last year when he was playing so much with the twos. He wasn't intended to be that guy. He earned it. That's a credit to the academy. George Campbell is as big of a success story out of the academy as anybody. And that, whatever happens with his professional career, that's the case because he was not rated before the academy. And he was developed truly in the academy. It was an incredible job by everybody associated that coached him to get him to the point that he signed a homegrown deal and has played in MLS this year. So it's just, look, it's not easy. To say that it was the problem is ludicrous. Ludicrous.
Nathan says he feels his plucky upstart tag that he used once as a bit of a joke has been turned into a meme that will haunt him till his grave.
Oh, it absolutely will. Because he's not the only one who does it. I mean, Jurgen Klopp basically says it himself at the podium. Like, all the other clubs, they spend so much. They all spend. And you guys spent too. You just brought in a bunch because Barcelona was foolish when it came to Coutinho. So, hey, that's cool. It's all good.
It's good business.
It's good business. It's really good business. But the time's going to come where they have to spend, and then they can't complain anymore. But Klopp might be gone by that point. Who knows?
Yeah. Conversations on the Twitch pitch. What's going on? Since we were officially caught up on the Twitters. Anything?
All kinds of different stuff. Nick's asked if we had talked about the DC United news. Shiva said Gressel leaking stuff. No, that was planned. That was very planned with Taylor Twellman jumping on the show. I'm wondering if Audi might have had something to do with it. It was embarrassing that they were still charging thousands of dollars as a professional team for players to join that academy. That's an embarrassment. And I'm glad they finally fixed it. There's a lot of talent in that area. And they've produced players before. Andy Nahar was a player who came through the academy for like a year. He's kind of a special one. He signed a youth deal or I think it was a homegrown deal at the time, one of the first. And then went over to Belgium, and they made money on the transfer, and he's had a great career for the Honduran national team, and he was one of the first big success stories. Bill Hamid came right after. Those are local guys. So DC to have had that in there, and I'm sure that if there were players they wanted that needed financial assistance, they gave it. But still, charging was... No, you can't be a professional academy trying to produce professional players and justify charging a registration fee. You just can't. It just takes away from your ability to do what you need to do. I mean, and the question came up on the Twitch pitch about, players try out, and they do. And you're picking the best players, and you're not picking them like some clubs have to based off who can pay and who can't. You should be picking them based off who's the best player because that's your job. Your job is to develop the best players to send them to your first team. If you're thinking about registration fees, changes the paradigm a little bit. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I'm glad that they finally got it. Again, I don't think Julian Gressel broke the news, guys. I think this was given to Julian Gressel to announce on the show.
Guys, hey, look.
I found this out. I was hanging out at the Academy training ground, and I heard, and I got it.
I heard this. You can't believe what I just heard.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. The club has really pushed his video show a lot. So, look, it's a smart way to get it out. It takes some of the heat off of them doing their own show to announce it, which it's like, hey, guys, why didn't you just do this yourselves like years ago and not charge these families thousands of dollars? Mm-hmm. Putting it on Gressel's show is a better way to announce.
Have a player do it.
Yes, because nobody's going to yell at Gressel about it because it wasn't his decision. Mazzano said beefing up the academy was one of the selling points when FDB when they brought him in. And I don't know, how much like actual hands-on was there, but we've talked to Tony Annan about it, and there were plenty of conversations between FDB, between his staff, between all of the people that he brought in and the academy, and I'm sure it helped kind of, again, harness things because you're talking to people who have been through it at a club that is known for developing talent at Ajax, and a club that has been committed to it and built a system that is able to be replicated year after year and generation after generation. So, it had an impact. I don't know how much directly, and I don't know if we'll know ever really because it was a short period of time, but it absolutely had an impact. KFC says Liverpool need to make headlines to catch up to Everton. Crazy wrong take. But this part is absolutely true, and Jason Nix points it out. Over 2 million Colombians in Colombia watched the Everton opener because of James. It's going to be very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. Shooter with a good question. How do you guys keep such a positive attitude when your team fails? Shooter is our resident New England Revolution fan who says, I want to choke slam Bruce Arena.
Does anybody know what's going on here?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't ready for the clip because I didn't expect to see threats of choke slamming of Bruce Arena. I don't know if it's all on Bruce, Shooter. I think your biggest problem is Carlos Heel got injured.
Yeah.
Because I liked where they were headed before that. And, Carlos Heel gets injured, and it's...
Does anyone know what's going on here?
Because he didn't. Because he played Gustavo Bo as a 10. That was a bad decision. And he said it was a bad decision after it didn't work. So, he's being straight up. Yeah. I don't know what else he can do. They've got to go get some better defenders. That was an issue last year. They were trying to play guys from midfield at defense as outside backs, and they were playing center backs as outside back. They've got to upgrade the back line in a big, big way. I put it more on the front office and digging out of the hole that Brad Friedel created.
Yes,
that did not go well. Bringing Lee Wynn back is a good move. I think it might end up being all right for you this year, but you got to get Carlos Heel back. But how do we keep a positive attitude? We laugh a lot and act goofy and find Peruvian teams that have amazing logos to have fun with. That's what we do. That's how it works.
And, and just understand that this 2020 is a world all of its own, and just kind of take things. And I guess I should put $5 in the jar for this, but you just take things a day at a time and understand things today might be different tomorrow. It might be the same. You try to have a good day today. You try to have a good day tomorrow and keep it going that way. If you don't have a good day tomorrow, then you try to have a good day the day after that. And it's just literally that's what it is. It is taking it a day at a time, and I owe the jar $5.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Shooter, I don't know if you need anger management, but maybe a hobby would be what helps a little bit. Don't choke slam Bruce Arena, please. He's getting old. I don't.
Well, and then they might then they might have to blur out Bruce's mouth when Shooter would come after him.
Oh, they would. They might have to blur out Shooter's mouth when he goes after him too. He might get the blurry mouth. Man, it's okay, Shooter. You're with us. You're in a safe place here. It's okay.
Yeah.
Captain Ragamuffin taking shots at Julian Gressel. At least he's doing something. Zinga. He's struggled this year. He's played out of position at times as well, and that factors into it. But, yeah, he has not looked like the same Julian Gressel in D.C. at all. It's been rough. But D.C. has looked very rough as well all across the board.
Yes.
KFC is recommending a rapist to our friend Shooter to improve his mood. I would agree.
There you go.
I would agree. That's fair enough. YouTube enjoyed the shopping over there segment last night on a new Athletic.
Oh, it was tremendous.
And their rip-off Jordans. Oh, my gosh.
Shopping over there. Well played. Very nice.
It was something. We might have to have a watch along tonight for our boys Binacional on the Fanatis or BN Sport if you have that through your own means. 8:30 is that kickoff tonight. I mean, it could be an upset win for Binacional, or they might get beat 8-0. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But they are El Poderoso del Sur, and it's going to be okay. It will. It will. It'll be fun. And maybe, Shooter, that can be your new team, and you can enjoy it and not choke slam any Peruvians, please.
There you go. Because if we hadn't discovered Binacional, who was supposed to be our team to pay attention to in the Copa?
Well, Defensa y Justicia, which we are paying attention to. What are you talking about?
Okay.
You didn't have a team to pay attention to.
In Defensa, early juice boxes.
Okay.
Defensa is a minus 182 against Delfine.
That's crazy. They haven't played since March. I mean, they're hosting it, but still. What's Delfine's number?
Plus 487.
They're the defending Ecuadorian champions. I mean, I'm all team Defensa, but you hadn't played a game since March, and Delfine has been good this season, and they're the defending Ecuadorian champions, and you're getting a plus 400?
Plus 500 almost.
Taking that Peach Humex. I mean, that's craziness. Just madness. Jared_Smith thinks it's scientifically impossible that Ben Olsen gets fired from D.C. That's what happens when you're a club legend, man. I mean, you get a long leash. This is a really long leash. I didn't know they made leashes this long, but you do. It's accurate.
Yeah, this is from the back porch to the beach. That's how long this leash is for Ben Olsen.
I mean, if he survives this year and then he gets into the playoffs next year, I guess that resets the clock. I don't know. It's crazy. Jason Nick says, I can always count on this show to make me realize it's not as bad as it seems. The positivity is welcome. We're trying not to be like, I don't try to like lie to you and be positive when there's nothing to be positive about. I mean, when there's something to call out, we call it out.
Yeah.
But I'm also not a sky is falling guy. I never have been about any of my teams. It's not just because of Atlanta United and I call the games. It's because that's just not how I am about teams. I think there's always solutions and there's always ways to fix things. And they need to find them. They have to produce more chances. They have to stop giving up goals on set pieces. I mean, the set piece thing is just, you have to just not give up goals on set pieces.
Yeah.
There's not some magic, formula to it. You just focus and you don't give up the goals on set pieces that you're giving up, and you don't give up goals early and fall behind, and you get some rest, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, we try to break it down and be real about it instead of, running around like Kevin from Home Alone and saying that the sky is falling and everything's burning down and, freak out. We try to be, try to calm it down.
Contextual.
Dude, slow down. Check yourself.
That's what we say.
Stop the insanity.
That's what we say.
React to me.
No, that's not what we say. That's the opposite of what we say. We say, dude, slow down. Check yourself. That's what we say.
Colo Colo. Peñarol. George Wilstermann. I want to hear
He
from
would
you.
call it Jorge. He would not call him George.
He would call it George.
No, he wouldn't. Give Rome some credit.
It would be a work. He'd call it George.
No. He's a soccer guy. His kids play. He's a fan. He would be respectful.
All right.
And then we play that, and everything's fine.
And a stir culture.
Shooter, his new team is Wolves. He likes the coach. He likes the whole energy and vibe. Yep.
Yeah, signed a new deal and came out of the blocks and got the 2-0 win against Sheffield United.
Yep. I like Wolves, too. I like Raul Jimenez a lot. This is a team that I want to see where they do this year. They're one of them. I feel like City and Liverpool are a cut above. Chelsea should be in that cut.
Yeah.
Manchester United's probably a year away from truly being in that cut.
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal could be right there with Manchester United. I don't think Leicester will be. I'll put Leicester, I'll put Wolves, I'll put Tottenham, I'll put Everton in that mix, and I know that's kind of craziness. Maybe Sheffield United, although I'm not as convinced.
Yeah.
I'll put that four that I just said in that blender of what happens. Does one of them like spurt up into the fourth spot, or does one of them spurt down to the 15th spot? I don't know. But Wolves is kind of in that mix of they could be a contender for Champions League, and they could also be out of everything. I don't know where they fall.
Yeah, and for Sheffield United, Aaron Ramsdale is not Dean Henderson. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Joe Bost talking about the defense juice box numbers. The juice box makers have been doing shots.
Yeah. Daniel Price says the bookies for soccer betting this year are drunk, I swear.
It's so hard, though, because you have all these factors. I mean, if you're not on top of it, if you're not in South America, you look at that and you say, okay, Defensa, really good last season. They're at home. Delphine, smaller league. Okay, yep, here you go. And you're not paying attention to the fact that Defensa hasn't played since March, which factors into this. It has to. If Defensa wins, it's an incredible win for Hernan Crespo and his boys. It would be a legendary win for Defensa y Justicia if they're able to win that without having a game since March.
And El Mataflo says Delphine is not looking good this year. They can pull an upset, but they are not, with a lot of O's, great this year.
Yeah, but they've been playing at least. I mean, Defensa is not a huge club. If we were talking River or Boca, I think we're having a different conversation. It's not a big club in their first ever Libertadores, and they haven't played since March. Like, I don't know. I hope they do it, but I'm not buying that number at all. That's craziness. Lots of convo in the Twitch pitch now that everything is working with Twitch. Thank you, Twitch. We appreciate you sorting out your buffering issues.
Salute.
Yes. Joe Bost wants 2 goalkeepers for the first 20 minutes. I don't think the rules are going to allow that one. We could be more defensive in the first 20 minutes, which people would complain about because it is not what Atlanta United has ever said they wanted to do. But if it's a necessity right now, I don't hate it. But people would complain about it. There's just no way around it. No, it is not overreaction down here, Mizano. No. We don't do that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Try not to anyway. Sometimes we do. Depends on what we're talking about.
Yes.
Burns says Raul Jimenez will be a problem in the octagonal. If we have the octagonal, or if it turns into some other permutation.
The octagon.
That's the same thing, except it would be the octagonal. I don't think it's going to be that because I don't think they're going to be able to do everything they want to do in CONCACAF. If you don't have qualifiers starting until March of 21, you don't have enough windows, period. So I don't know what it looks like. Maybe the U.S. avoids Mexico in qualifiers, but maybe the U.S. getting to the World Cup in 22 comes down to 6 games as opposed to 14, which I don't like those odds. So I don't know. I'm waiting to see it. He will be a problem for Mexico for a long time to come. That's absolutely true. Kefsey doesn't want me to jinx Everton. I did last year, so I apologize. The Minister of Health of Paraguay is speaking right now to the media. There's a lot of microphones being thrust in his face about the situation. He is saying, I believe, let me make sure I got this right. He's saying the players from Boca have recovered. That's the quote that's on the crawl.
Okay.
Now I'm not listening to it, obviously, because we're doing a show here, but testing positive, but being out of the contagious realm of dates is not recovered, in my opinion. If they've tested negative, all of a sudden, after testing positive, then we're having a different conversation. We'll see if anything else comes out of that. This is going to be a story for a few days now, for a lot of different reasons. So, very interesting to see. Ragamuffin says stuff is starting to spiral at Spurs. There were reports, and maybe it's trying to make something of it. The Mirror had this about Eric Dyer not being happy about Jose Mourinho's questioning of the squad's effort in their loss. I read the quotes. I mean, all Dyer was saying was that he worked hard and the squad had worked hard. He wasn't going at Mourinho.
Yeah. I
think maybe we're trying to pour gasoline on a spark at this point, We'll see. Jose has been known to have these moments where he takes the gasoline and first gets a blowtorch and then pours the gasoline on it. Now, he's been known to do that. I think the Mirror's trying to make something out of nothing because they expect that to happen, and we'll have to wait and see. Jarrett's talking trash about Lester and Brendan Rodgers.
Start out hot and fade at the end. That's Brendan Rodgers' MO.
That's not what Jarrett's talking trash about. Jarrett is still not happy about how things went down at Celtic.
Understood.
So maybe there's a little bit of bias there. That's okay. Jarrett will have a new Celtic update at some point this week. John will have a Swansea update at some point this week. I will have the first, and I don't have a title yet, Defensa y Justicia update ahead of the match on Thursday. And I believe Nick will have a Milan update this week ahead of the first week of Serie A action. What was his title? Was it the Diavolo in the Details or something like that?
I think so, yes.
I don't have a title for the Defensa one yet. I'll come up with something. We're doing these little updates on teams that we talk about on the show a lot and we randomly bring up. They're going to be short, like 5 to 10 minutes weekly, just to catch you up on what that team is doing. Just a fun way to follow a team a little bit more closely and share a team that maybe you haven't heard of. And it might get you watching a different league, watching a different team that you haven't, or you just think we're goofy and you just laugh for 5 minutes, which is very possible.
Yeah. Patrick Sullivan's in this morning. He says, with the DC announcement, where Julian Gressel broke some news.
Totally. He was out finding the news and he broke it.
And so Patrick says, so you're saying that Barron Trump may not be playing in the DC United Academy on talent alone?
I don't think he's still playing there, though. He was. He had a crazy growth spurt.
He did.
That's come up a lot.
He's like 9.5 feet tall now.
Yeah. There was a video of him. I can't remember if it was with DC or not, where he was not moving comfortably, which happens when you have a crazy growth spurt like that. But he did have pretty nice touch. I'm not going to lie. He had pretty good touch. But he was not moving very well. We'll see. I've heard differing opinions on his ability, and it's not fair. We're talking about a kid at this age and how good of a player he could be. He's obviously not awful because he's been holding his own in that academy. Yeah. I've heard that he's not a bad player at all, but I've heard that it was a little bit like, well, is he a pro prospect? And every MLS academy has players that are not quite at that level, but are good enough to be in the academy. That was what I seemed to hear the most about him. But then that was before he had a massive growth spurt. And now, who knows? We'll see when he can move more comfortably again.
What was the deadline for Wigan? Was that at the end of this month where they were going to have problems making
They raised a bunch of money. I don't know what the deadline was after they raised a bunch of money.
Yeah. Wigan apparently is now the target of a rescue bid from the Middle East-based business group MBuzz.
MBuzz?
MBuzz. Reps of the company have met the administrators and are set to offer around £3 million for the whole package this week.
Okay.
MBuzz Sport is a branch of a global telecom firm based in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, but with offices in Dublin, Dubai, and around Europe. Their past experience in football has a one-off shirt sponsorship deal for Wigan when they played Manchester United in the FA Cup. Well, and here was the interesting thing when I was looking up MBuzz Sport. They also took a stake in Leganés, and they were also involved with Sheffield United on the commercial side. And this a handful of years ago, they wanted to put MBuzz across the front of the jersey. But what they did instead is they bought the right to put whatever name that they wanted to on the front of the jersey and basically tried to broker out the jersey. So if somebody wanted to do like a third of a year, MBuzz bought the right to sit there and say, okay, well, if you guys want it, you got to talk to us, and then we'll figure out how much it costs.
So they thought they could get the jersey sponsorship and then chop it up and make money.
Yes.
Okay, I see what they're doing. That's who you want buying your club?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. That's not going to go well. Going out of business would be a worse idea. Yeah. But no, that's a bad idea. That's a very bad idea.
Yeah, at the time, quoting CEO of M-Buzz Sport, he said, the idea is to give small and medium-sized companies a chance to get exposure in La Liga for the first time.
Yeah, okay. I'm not buying that nonsense. We'll see. There's also talk in England about an American consortium proposing a takeover of West Ham. And a £350 million bid was rejected last month. They're reportedly preparing an improved offer. We don't know who this consortium is. They are involved in U.S. sport. They lodged a bid in the first week of August. It was based on the proposed $300 million takeover of Newcastle by the Saudi Arabian consortium, plus an extra $50 million because of West Ham's London location. David Sullivan, who is the one in charge of the West Ham ownership group, David Gold and David Sullivan bought the club in 2010. They're not really well liked by the West Ham fans. They made an £18 million sale to West Brom this month of Grady Diangana, and people were very upset about that. Okay. I guess West Ham fans were upset about the move to London Stadium as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Sullivan doesn't want to give up control. He owns a majority shareholding of 51.5%. There are a lot of other complications to this. The move to London Stadium, if Sullivan and Gold sell the team before March of 23, they would have to pay financial penalties to taxpayers. London Stadium sources question the strength of this American consortium's interest, pointed out that Premier League clubs receive inquiries on a regular basis. That would be accurate. Sullivan talked about selling a minority stake in the team to this group. The consortium wants to buy the club outright and will only consider a partial sale in return for a controlling interest. Now, like everybody else, their finances have been hit. They arranged a rights issue to raise £30 million during lockdown. I don't know exactly what that means. David Moyes doesn't really have a budget for transfer signings in this window. They pay £2.5 million a year to rent the London Stadium. They made a pre-tax loss of $28.8 million in the last financial year. And their latest account said the group's principal risk remains that of the football club being relegated with the serious financial consequences which follow.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a risk. And that is a big risk for West Ham.
Yes. Jack Grealish has signed his new 5-year deal worth £135,000 a week.
How long does he play at Villa on that 5-year deal, in your opinion?
Oh...
I think he's gone next year because I think they get relegated.
Yeah, I think Villa's gone. Yeah, so that then as a part of them being a part of that discussion. So yeah, if you're down, then you're out. So 1 year. I like that.
That's what I'm thinking. You do that to maintain the control over the transfer and make more money on it. I mean, it's smart business from Villa. But yeah, when they get relegated, they're going to have to sell.
Yeah,
he's not going to stay with a championship team. It's just not going to happen, and they're not going to be able to afford it at that point. So. Mm-hmm. Lots of conversation about people's English clubs that they are a fan of on the Twitch pitch.
That's cool.
Kefsey with a good point. In all seriousness, following teams in multiple leagues is helpful for sanity. Sure, you could have them all lose at once, but it's less likely. Yeah, that stinks. That's never good. Mezzano wants Atlanta United to play Park the Bus down here, an 8-0-2 formation. People would riot. People would absolutely riot. Lots of Brendan Rodgers comments. Katie Weaver, back to the Libertadores, doing some in-depth logos down here research, and I'm definitely pulling for a Binacional versus Delfín match. That'd be a good one. Delfín's got a pretty good logo. There's some amazing logos in Peru that I discovered through my logos down here research. I don't know what it is about the Peruvian league, but there's some pretty wild logos there. Binacional, it's by far the best. There's just nobody's touching that thing. Nobody's getting near it. And their kits are
muscular
good.
Pumas.
Steroided up Pumas, all right? Those things are on the roids for sure.
Yeah.
Katie also asked, why do Middle Eastern sports conglomerates always sound like defunct 90s teen magazines? M-Buzz, Be Out Q. It's true.
Not wrong.
M-Buzz. I thought it was like some website that catered to K-pop or something.
CompuServe, yeah.
I'm
It's like,
kinda-
if you want to subscribe to MBuzz, your upload speeds will improve by 9 times over your previous provider.
So I went K-pop, and John went to CompuServe with that.
Yep.
That says a lot.
MBuzz.
Abby with a question. With the amount of rain expected the next few days, courtesy of Hurricane Sally, do you think they will move practices to MBS, which can allow for better prep on the actual field they will play on for the next 2 games? It could. Remember, the turf field at the training ground is the same turf at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I believe they replace it in the same scheduling. So it's the exact same dimension, same turf. It is outside, but I think they use that training pitch a good bit in those situations to prepare because it's on turf. You also, where you can train on grass, you want to, because it's a little bit less of a pounding on your knees and ankles. It is a little bit easier for long term. But with weather and they don't want to lose training time, yeah, they might head down to the bends. I don't know the mechanics of that. I don't know how early, you've got to make the call to use the bends. I don't know what all is going on. I don't think there's anything going on there before the game on Saturday, so I think you're clear. Sometimes that can come up. But I don't know what the cost is either, because you got to open the building, you got to have power and lights and people, and I don't know what that runs like. So I just don't know the logistics. But it's definitely a possibility. Burned with a good point. This kind of blows me away when I see some of these numbers. Isn't it wild that EPL clubs sell for less than MLS teams? Yep.
Yeah.
But that West Ham one is absolutely accurate. Why? You get relegated, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you buy it for $300 million, for $350 million, you get relegated, it's crap.
You're done.
You're not done. No, that's not true.
Financially?
You're done, so you just quit. You just bow out. You get relegated, forget it. That's what I'm saying. Then don't say that, because that's not true. You take a hit, and you've got to get back to recoup your investment. And the longer that you stay down, the less likely that becomes. But, yeah, I mean, it can be done to go back, but you better do it quick or you're in big trouble. But that's why they sell for less. Because of that. Because if you're West Ham and Sullivan sells, and this group comes in and buys it, and then they get relegated next year, and then say they don't go back the first year, that valuation is going to be cut in half, maybe. And I think right now you're at greater risk. If you go down, you're going to stay down for a while because of where everything is financially. That's why. If you buy into MLS, you're not going to go anywhere. There's more protection for your investment. It's a more appealing investment.
Bottom half of the table last year in the championship. QPR, Reading, Stoke, Middlesbrough, Huddersfield, Wigan, Hull. They were all in the lower half of the table last year in the championship.
And they've been in the championship for how long? That's the point to me, because Fulham went down and bounced back.
Yep.
West Brom went down, and did they bounce back in 1 year, or was it a little bit longer?
Who?
West Brom.
West Brom, it was 2.
2. It feels like 2 might be the magic number. If you're down for longer than 2, you're in big trouble.
Let's see. So QPR has been down longer than 2. Stoke is in their second season. Middlesbrough's been down for longer than 2. Huddersfield is in their second season. Wigan has been down for longer than 2. And Hull has been down for longer than 2. And now they're down in League One.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing, is when you don't go back after the second year. And usually you're going to know about halfway through that second year if you got a shot. The wheels fall off. Gwen agrees. She hates when that happens to teams. Let's see. Yeah. Pacine says, when you buy into MLS, don't you also get into the Soccer United marketing cabal? You do, and that's another element. That's been a very good piece of business for Major League Soccer, and people hate it because it makes money. I don't know. MLS probably wouldn't still be around in its current form if the Soccer United marketing idea hadn't come up. And it came up in large part because the marketing partner for the U.S. Soccer Federation was going out of business. And they needed something. And the MLS owners, and I think Don Garber recognized the opportunity, came together. TV rights were a big part of it, too, around World Cups. Packaged everything together and got this done. And it's been a source of revenue for the league owners, where the league wasn't a source of revenue for a long period of time and isn't still for some. Soccer United marketing has been. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think people maybe feel like they have too much control over everything. And if you want to get into that, that's a different conversation. But the concept of it, I mean, it's been successful because it's a good idea. Beyond that, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, that's part of buying into MLS is you get into that. And why do the prices keep going up? Because you're diluting the ownership stake. So the profits of a Soccer United marketing get shared further with every new owner that comes in. Burned with a point, MLS needs to sort out its TV problem to unleash the earnings potential, which means they need to raise the cap to get better, more evenly balanced rosters, a better quality of play. It's the chicken and egg conversation in some ways. Can you get the ratings to go up now to bring in more money to go spend it on better players? Or do you have to go out and spend it on better players first, and then the ratings go up and you get the money on the back end, where the ad rates go up, et cetera, et cetera? I'm kind of leaning to the latter. I think you're going to have to step up with an investment first and expect to make it back. And I think you will. But there's questions about that process. I mean, it's a valid concern for some owners who have been through the lean times in this league. I get it. They're going to have to move forward, though, because I don't think the league takes any kind of a big step outside of World Cup 26, which will bring a lot of interest and I think a lot of dollars to soccer in this country. Until that happens, if you don't invest more, it will be small incremental growth. The league's structured to where I don't think they're going to be in trouble now. The pandemic is a different conversation, and it will affect what Byrne's talking about here. But I don't think the league is structured to have a catastrophic loss outside of a pandemic situation because it's safe, again, that safe investment. But it's not set up to have a massive jolt of growth either. It's to protect. I think you're going to have to step up with an investment. And this is the time where, look, a lot of people say this in these kinds of periods of time where there are a lot of soccer businesses that are struggling. There are a lot of clubs that are struggling and need a cash infusion. MLS is probably in a better position than most to ride this out. And that means there's an opportunity for them. The Marcelino Moreno rumors, I think, are a prime example. He was not going to be sold for less than $10 million back in April. Now, after months and months of no revenue, Lanús says, we've done really well in being fiscally responsible, but because of that, we need to sell now because we need something coming in the door. And they're willing to take less. There's going to be a lot of clubs like that. There's going to be clubs like Independiente that can't even pay a player and to the point that they rescind the contract. That's going to happen too. It's a huge opportunity for MLS. Now, my question, and this is the one, I don't think there's an answer to it. Going to South America, going to that market, like we talked about with Seattle and how Raul Ruidiaz should be a superstar in this league. He's not. He should be a household name around the country for soccer people. I don't know if he necessarily is. Going to South America and getting these kinds of players will make the league better because the level of play will be better. Will that move the needle? Or do you have to go to Mexico because those players are more known in this country due to the Spanish language television and the ratings that draw there and are really good, are not as mind-boggling as some will lead you to believe in terms of how far they are ahead of MLS. They're ahead. Do you have to go to the Premier League and spend more for players who have name value? Does that get you where you need to get? Or is it simply having better play? Will people buy into that? I think that's a longer process. I'm okay with that. I think it's a better process because you're not spending as much. The level of play will improve faster, in my opinion, because I don't think you're going to have to then go get names who are potentially washed up on the other side. You can get 20 to 25-year-olds that will dramatically improve the level. You got to sell those names, though, then. And you've got to continue to try to change the perception of this league, which a lot of the pushback on this league at this point, because I still hear the same people saying the same things that they said in 2005. It's a retirement league. There's no good players in it. It's like the fourth division in England. I mean, all that kind of nonsense. And shut up. It's not that. And if you watch the league, you know that. But they're not going to care about a player coming in from Lanús. They've probably never heard of Lanús. Is that who we're trying to appeal to? Or are we trying to appeal to the Hispanic market that will care about that? They'll care more about players coming from Mexico, but they'll care. I'm saying that because the Mexican population in the United States is the largest Hispanic population. Do you have to go to Mexico? Can you go get players from South America? I think the market's best in South America. I think that is the quickest route. Spend the least amount of money, improve the level of play the fastest. That is the route. But does that change the perception from people who say that MLS is no good and I'm not going to watch? I don't know if it does. I think it will over time if you can get them to tune in, but I don't know if it does. And I don't think you should go get names just to go get names and spend all the money it's going to take. It's a dilemma in some ways, but it's kind of an interesting trying to piece it together and seeing which way you go and how you go down this and how you make this work. I don't know. I really don't have the answer. I think you should go to South America because I think those players fit here better and I think you can get better prices. But I don't know if that changes the perception of the level of play quickly because I think there's still a lot of people, and you hear it from comments that people make about players who come here. I think there's a lot of people who don't value the South American player. There's a lot of people who don't value what those players bring to the league because they're not just going to run and have a high work rate. Not all of them, anyway. It's a different game. And some people think that it's an inferior game. I feel like they're wrong. But does that change the perception? I don't know.
Yeah. Swickster's in this morning, and he says, let me think. What happened the last time Leicester started off fast but will fade at the end, using my quote. And then he has, I guess it's Jaden Smith staring at me in a GIF. And then his reply to my statement is them winning the Premier League title. Let me clarify, Swickster.
Okay.
What I said was, that's what happened last year. That was what happened last year. Leicester came out of the blocks, sprinted out. They were top 3, top 4, and then faded at the end. I'm hoping that Brendan Rodgers, if Leicester City is going to be top 4 in that top 4 discussion, has learned from what happened last year. That was my point. I'm the first guy, Swickster, that when, short of probably you and the other Atlanta Foxes, that picked up the championship T-shirt from the Premier League when they won. So I am a big supporter of teams like a Leicester City that can do what they did. My point was about last year. It wasn't about this year. But unless Brendan Rodgers has learned from last year, I fear the same thing will happen. It was not an indictment about this season about Leicester City.
Sorry, Swickster and Atlanta Foxes, I think the title was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. I just don't see it happen. I think things have blown up past that now to where, I mean, I personally, I feel like, and Chelsea maybe is going to be the one that pushes into this, I feel like City and Liverpool have pushed away so far from everybody else that nobody's catching them. Yeah. Chelsea's trying to spend with them now, and we'll see if they spin it in the right way. I'm not convinced 100% yet. I mean, Manchester United used to be in that class. They're not. They can't be. They're having to pay so much on the debt that the Glazers did to buy the team that they can't be in that class. Tottenham can't be in that class. There's nobody who can be in that class. I mean, if City and Liverpool don't just light money on fire and waste it,
yeah,
it's a big 2 now. It's a big 2. Chelsea might make it a big 3. I'm not convinced that stays the case for a long period of time. I don't think they have enough consistency in the way that club's run, but I think and will there be upsets? Yeah, there will be. But I think Leicester's story is, it's been pretty much a once-in-a-lifetime story up to this point. I think it becomes even more of a once-in-a-lifetime story. And that's just the way it looks like the game's going in England, where it felt like a Big Four and a true Big Four for a while.
Yeah.
Then it felt like a Big Six for a minute. I think it's a Big Two now with a sidecar for Chelsea right now. And that's it. I just don't think anybody can compete with them. And that's not as much fun to me, but it's just that's what it feels like at this point. After my rambling dissertation on stuff that really had no answers, a couple things on the Twitch pitch about it before we wrap up. Pacine, pool TV rights with Liga MX, combined with Soccer United marketing, unleash the dollars. You got to change the way Mexico does their TV because every team sells it right now. So you sell your home games, basically. And that's why you have some on TUDN, some of them on ESPN Deportes, like here in this country, some on Fox. It's all sold team by team. If they can pull it all as a league, and then Soccer United marketing can do that in the States with it and package it, then yeah, absolutely. And put those games in English, which will be good, but then create more interaction between the two, because I think it's twofold. Liga MX wants to grow the business in the United States, which obviously that's a smart play. MLS wants to increase their reputation with Liga MX fans, which I think is a smart play. The interaction between the two and some synergy between the two will help both sides get what they want. And I think if the perception of MLS's level of play changes, more people will watch. And that's where you want to get to. So I think it can work. And I agree. I think there can be some cash in that for sure. Shooter, I guess he's talking about MLS TV stuff. He says, it could be cheap too. Just simulcast a radio show during the day like this very show right here. We're here for you if you need us.
Yep.
Or you can say other crazy things on other networks about crazy situations like Nicolas Figal should not have been suspended for what he did. Yeah, you can say that too if you want. It's wrong, but you can say it. Shooter wants a red zone type show on game days. Have highlights and classic matches. I thought they would do that with the Pluto TV channel, but it feels like it's just they throw random things there. There's not strategy to the scheduling of it. I wish they would. I wish they would do. And again, it's because I'm crazy and I watch TIC all the time. I wish they would model some of the shows that they do. The Planeta Goal show, if you did that for American soccer, it would be very well received. It's basically a countdown show of whatever categories they come up with for the day. And it can be greatest goals from midfield. It can be greatest goals from inside the 6-yard box. It could be greatest headed goals. It can be greatest misses. It can be greatest saves. I mean, it's all kinds of random things. They'll do themed shows about a certain team or a certain player, and that would be an easy thing to produce. You get the right people hosting it and have fun with it and show a bunch of fun, crazy highlights. That would go over really, really, really well. And I think it'd be easy to do. I'd love to see something like that. You know, some of the debate shows that they have on here where you're not just taking up ridiculous opinions to take up ridiculous opinions. It is not the embrace debate idea of, okay, which side, let's flip the card and see which one you get today. No.
Yeah.
You have legitimate opinions about people who can talk about the game in more than, they didn't score 5 goals, or they only scored 5 goals. They're no good. I mean, we need more than that. You can do these things, and I'll be curious to see if somebody does it. You know, is it going to happen on an ESPN or an FS1? No, because they don't do much of that for anything outside of the NFL, which is the behemoth. Could it happen on an MLS TV or an American Soccer TV if you want to go further than that, especially if you go Soccer United marketing with the properties they have? It could. Could you get something like that on an over-the-top service right now? Yep. Could you find a way to make something like that work, I think? Yep. But you got to have all the shoulder programming to go with it. The games are vital, but you got to have all the other stuff to go with it to keep people engaged and to change the perception of your product, because that's a big issue for MLS. Burns says, I think they're actually leaving money on the table with the roster restrictions. If you just said flat $30 million cap, you'd get a better roster than overpaying on 3 stars and paying American young players peanuts. Basically, we need 10 to 18 TAM level players to have solid competitive teams in the region, plus young players from academies. I do think they're trying to bridge the gap to where they don't basically price out the academy players coming through, because you can go get whoever. They want to create an incentive to play the academy players, and I don't think they want to do what like Mexico has done at times, where they have a minutes minimum for these things. I don't think they want to go to that, but they want to incentivize teams to play more young players, so they're limiting some of the spending. That's my guess. I might be wrong. I'm okay with the designated player idea, and I'm okay with now the young designated player idea, but I do think the cap level should go up. And if you want to have it go up a good bit, I would have a floor attached to it as well, because I think you need to make sure that teams spend a certain amount, even if they don't want to go get designated players, even if they don't want to go get the young DPs, if they don't want to put that extra money in, they have to spend a certain amount.
Kind of like the National Hockey League.
I was about to say, they created a floor for that kind of reason, right?
Yeah. Phoenix.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking that might be the way to go. Look, that stuff's a whole lot above my pay grade in terms of creating the best system for that. MLS rules have been taped together with duct tape, and then they fell apart, and then there was some crazy glue that went into it. Then the Gorilla Glue came out, and they put some of that on it, and they got some more duct tape, and that's how it's been. I mean, I understand the process to where we are, but yeah, you got to get to a point where you re-envision it a little bit more. And if that's the way, and I don't know if Burns' wrong in it, I just wonder if you can still incentivize the young players breaking through, because it's not MLS's job to develop players for American soccer, but I think a lot of people want it to be. And you want to incentivize clubs doing it, and not just beyond the transfer fees, because you'll have some owners who just don't get that. And you'll have some front offices who don't want to go down that road. They don't want to spend that money thinking it's just a waste because they haven't produced any players, and they don't know how to fix that. Some clubs will do that. That's fine. But I think you want to create the idea of young players having a place to play. And if teams can just go out and sign a 23 or 24-year-old from Argentina or from Uruguay or from Ecuador and say, well, this is better than anything I can produce out of my academy, this is what I'm going to go do, this is a safer investment, I don't know if that's good overall. And maybe you have your international slots that limit some of that, but the green card process makes it pretty easy to get those. So there's a lot of factors into it. But these are the things that MLS at the top levels have to be discussing to figure out how to make the league better. And now is a time when you might have some opportunities in front of you that are pretty special, and we'll see if they do it. I'm going to scroll through quickly because
right.
You're holding your hand up. What do you want?
Well, while you're scrolling, I was just going to say, Nathan Pugh, Liverpool and Chelsea this Sunday will be interesting. Chelsea scares me at how young and potentiality they have. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has signed his new contract at Arsenal. He's doing live Twitter video from the floor of the Emirates saying, finally, as you know, I just signed the ting.
Nice. Well, it's good he signed the ting.
So there you go.
Gwen's riled up about the Chelsea comment, so, I'm just saying. Abby says, I think it is really hard to maybe get the contracts when MLS is still not discussed on mainstream TV, example ESPN. Sucks when they talk well about how the NBA and WNBA returned, then they go to baseball, they never mention MLS. What about the AJC having no soccer articles or scoreboard at all in this past Sunday's paper? Some of that with the print paper is about the timing, and I know the timing's changed over the years. It's a pretty early deadline now to get that thing printed, is my understanding.
Yep.
It's far different than it was when I was young, and that stinks. I don't know what you can do about that. That's down to printing processes, I guess. I agree on ESPN. If I'm doing business with a TV partner, I would try to find some way to, at a minimum, not have my league be trashed by their on-air people.
Yeah.
Because that's happened far too often on ESPN, and I want to throw things on a regular basis. And second, then actually discussing it as a major league, which it is, leaving it out of the conversation about returning and bubbles was not doing your job as a journalist. Leaving it out of the conversation about going back to play in markets, again, not doing your job as a journalist. Making a big point about some of these college football games that have fans as the first ones to do it, again, not doing your job as a journalist. That's got to change. That's a long process. I mean, you have people who make those decisions editorially who still subscribe to the 1984 theory about soccer being a waste of time. Gwen hates those people. It really drives her nuts.
Yes.
I do too, Gwen. It really frustrates me because they are boneheaded, and it doesn't allow things to change. Okay. I'm seeing if there's anything else we have to address real quick. You guys have been great. Thanks for sticking with us on Twitch with all the madness and stuff. Match day experience is something a lot of people have brought up. I agree. That's a big part of it. There's and this is a good point, and this gives you a little more context. Liga MX for a top game can get around 2 million viewers. EPL for a top game, and this is on NBC, which is going to be more available than most than cable channels. They're getting over 1 million for their top games on NBC. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, Burns says MLS gets 200,000 viewers. Now, you can't say the top games for the others and not say the top game for MLS, which the top games on broadcast TV for MLS are in the 500,000 to 750,000 range.
Yes.
Is that a fair range?
Fair.
Okay. Averages for EPL, when you include NBCSN, are not 1 million. Averages for Liga MX for all the games on 2DN and not just Univision are not 2 million. They're higher. But the top games stretch it further, I think. Whereas for MLS, the top games don't stretch their average all that much further. That's something that has to change because you need to create something that is appealing. Like, that's not a bad thing that Chivas in America draws a huge rating for Univision because it's a big game. That's a massive game. It's not a bad thing in the NBA if the Lakers and the Celtics play that it draws a huge rating. You know, you have a product that's going to be appealing to people. You need those in MLS. I don't think you have them right now. That has to change. But the averages are closer than the 2 and the 1 and the 200,000. I don't think that's a necessarily fair comparison. It's not, Liga MX is not humiliating MLS in ratings. I think at times that's brought up that it just is, and Spanish language is humiliating. It's not. It's higher, and MLS has to close that gap. They have to put out a better product. They have to change the perception. But it's not fighting from as far behind as sometimes it would look. Abby reminds everybody to sign up for our trivia contest for Soccer in the Streets on the 24th.
Yes.
You make a donation to Soccer in the Streets. Any amount, you get to play. It helps get meals to lower-income families that are in the Soccer in the Streets footprint. It's fun. Somebody's got to beat Roberto Rojas. He's won the last 2. On the last question, but he's won the last 2. Somebody's got to beat him. So sign up, study up. That'll be on the 24th. Myself and Mike Conti will be your quiz masters for that.
I have to figure out how to raffle off my spot.
Yes, and I think Shiva's going to do the same. Pacine, I read what you wrote. I might have misunderstood what you wrote. Pool Liga MX, then combine with Soccer United marketing. I know the Mexican teams are individually negotiated. This could help everyone. I think that's what I said. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've got to change the way they do their TV rights because of the individual negotiations. And you've got to sell them as a package. And you've got to get the teams to agree to that. That's probably the biggest thing. And if then you do that and Soccer United marketing pools it with MLS, because right now Soccer United marketing is not involved in the Mexican TV rights at all. If if they buy the rights to then sell it in the U.S., then yeah, I'm with you. That can work. I think we're on the same page. I hope that made sense. I might not have, but it's 11:25. We were supposed to be done at 11, so I'm just saying. Ricky said, may have missed this, but did you all see the MLB postseason bubble? Would MLS look into something like that? I was a little surprised by it. I mean, in general, MLB's done okay. They've had the issues early on. They've had a couple minor issues since.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised they felt like they needed to go to that. I honestly don't get it, to be perfectly honest. I don't think it's the right approach. Now, you are playing potentially 7 games in a place instead of going back and forth. Maybe it's more cost effective that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if MLS needs to. Maybe they do, but there hasn't been a game postponed in MLS. There hasn't been more than one player testing positive at different teams.
Right.
I think Sporting had a positive in the last week. Yep. Chicago had a positive early on. There's been a couple other, I think, where they've announced their pooled testing results, and there's been some others that I don't think have been identified. I don't know if they need to. And I think also MLS is hoping that by the time you get to that point, they'll be able to have some fans in the building. And they would like to have that. So I don't think MLS goes to that, Ricky. That could change later on in the year. That could absolutely change. Burns says, if you want MLS to appeal to Mexican fans and you can't have teams like Atlanta United go in the toilet after 2 years due to stupid roster rules that make you sell a NAGB, LGP, etc., blow up the cap already. I don't think that's the issue because you have Mexican clubs that have to sell players and go into the crapper. Chivas has been all over the map. You do have that happen there too. You don't have a cap, but you have financial constraints just because of the ownership's resources. So I'm with you. I think increasing the cap is a good thing. I'm not against that at all. I think it's finding the right level to make it work while also balancing everything is where you have to be. But it's time to increase it. I thought they would increase it more with the CBA. I hoped that they would. I think they need to find another way to do it. Maybe this U22 initiative is a way to do it around it. I don't know. The next time, you have to just increase the cap in a stronger way. And if that means getting rid of some of the rules restrictions, I'm fine with that. If that money goes into the cap, whatever you got to do, more than anything, you've got to increase the spending, period. And you've got to create spending floors, in my opinion. So teams can't just go completely on the cheap and ride on everybody else's coattails. Yeah. They have to spend at a certain level. That's got to happen in the next CBA, which I think is 25 is when that next one will come up. Okay, so what about Liga MX limiting foreign players? I know it's a totally different dynamic down there, but they do have limitations, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know exactly what they are. I'll have to look into that. I know the biggest difference is the green card situation. And there's nothing MLS can do, according to what I've always been told about it, because of U.S. labor law. If you have a green card, you cannot be considered separate from a domestic worker. So MLS can't do anything to change that. If people can get green cards easily, they can get green cards easily. And they have to be considered as domestic players. Do you cut down the number of international slots because it's so easy to get green cards? I don't know. That's a different dynamic than Mexico. I don't know what the limitation is in Mexico on international players, but there is one. A lot of conversation about this. This is great. I'm glad you guys are bouncing around on all of this. Ricky, saw your highlighted message. Got that. And I think we are mostly caught up. No, we're not. Yes, we are. Lots of stuff.
Two more things on my end.
Go ahead.
Chattanooga Red Wolves Union Omaha on ESPN Plus at the top of the hour. They're doing a businessman special today. So
they're doing a businessman special at noon?
Yeah. It's on the board
okay.
for a noon, and I'll get the juice boxes there in a second. Stephen Goff has released CBS's broadcast numbers of the NWSL match, since we were talking ratings. Mm-hmm. Between North Carolina and Houston, Saturday averaged 370,000 viewers, on the top 10 markets in order in the United States: Tulsa, Dayton, Ohio, Portland, Nashville, Greensboro, Buffalo, Norfolk, Memphis, Pittsburgh, and the Fort Myers, Naples market. So those are the top 10 markets that watched the NWSL game on Big CBS over the weekend.
I really think NWSL is hurting from the players going to Europe narrative, but also just the fact that these games are exhibitions. That was a great match. The North Carolina-Houston game was a great match. It was a fun one to watch, but it doesn't mean anything. And I think that's hurting a little bit. There's also a lot of stuff going on at the moment, too, in the sports world. So that 370 is not bad when you factor in the time of the year. It's comparable to what they had in the summer for the Challenge Cup for that first game on CBS, I think. The numbers are different, but the time of year affects it. So it's not bad at all. MLS needs more games on broadcast TV.
Yeah.
That will help because it's just those channels get better ratings. There's just no way around that.
Juice boxes, Red Wolves, a plus 156. Union Oma draw, as Chris Ashley calls them, plus 158. And your draw option, plus 223.
That's as much of a toss-up as I've ever seen.
Yep.
156 and 158, huh?
Uh-huh.
Flip a coin. Chattanooga's at home. And it's a weird time, and for some reason, like early kickoffs help the home team more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I will go with Chattanooga Red Wolves on that one.
Yeah.
You guys have to get back to work, or some of you do anyway. Thanks for hanging out, Ragamuffin. I know you'd rather hang out with us than actually work, but
and we love you for it.
Your job and stuff. So
yes.
Thanks for reloading on Twitch all morning. Thanks for listening on the app. Thanks to you guys who listen to the podcast later. As I always tell you, if you have questions and you miss us on the show, you can tweet at us at any time. You can send us an email. We've got one in the hopper from Nathan that didn't really fit today. We'll try to get into it tomorrow. It's more of a long-form question. We'll try to get into that tomorrow. It might be saved for Thursday, although that's going to be no, it's not going to be an overreaction Thursday this week. So actually that might work. We'll get to it very soon, Nathan, we promise. It's kind of an evergreen topic, so we'll get there. But you guys can send us those things anytime. Thanks to the people who subscribe on Twitch. We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody who got one of the Peachtree Post scarves. We still have a few. They're $20. Send us a message if you want one. To get yours, we have less than 10 available for you. So get yours now. We're not going to reprint that one ever. We will be having a new scarf coming up soon, and we will be raising money for a very specific initiative through it. So stay tuned. Also stay tuned to the bat signal tonight. That could go up for that Binacional game. Yes, it could go up for that for some Copa LIbertadores action tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out for some stoppage time as well. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.